Yeah, they show like the next two meetings right on the front page,
Okay.
and then the whole year you'd have to go into like events to look at the whole year. But this one and the next one are listed with the day and what there's a link right there that says click here to join the meeting, and then it says agenda. It's a PDF.
I wouldn't know unless somebody else calls in. Can I finish my meeting?
Yeah.
Sit over here.
I'm raised by hand.
But it should move when you speak.
Test. Microphone.
Just make, there you are. Use the spirit.
Test.
There it is.
Now you go right there and sit and test it. Keep it traveling around the room.
Test 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Put your microphone on.
Test. It is. It's
It
great.
is?
Yeah, because some people get really close. No, you don't want to. What do you have really? So, because we had for, hold on.
Oh, you got to turn it up now.
Oh. I came down here. We were on bingo.
Yeah, it's picking up good audio.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay, 1, 2.
There you go. Let me test the rest of these really quick.
all right.
Test. Turn number 8 up. Test.
So, like through it- we, look out from the lobby there, pool, to the plant. One's got stuff in it, one's got nothing. Where's the stuff here? Everything was wilted and dead. It's a complete mess through the night.
You are live.
Good morning to our great house over here today. Appreciate everybody coming out. I'd like to introduce our Board of Supervisors. I'm Bob Bozeman, the chairman. Ken Walters is the vice chairman. Bill LeBrecq, Ken Sculligan, John Sculligan, and David Francis, our newest member. I'd like to introduce Brian, our district manager. Al McGee, our council here, and Alan Sanders, who's representing the engineering firm of VSC. John, would you lead us?
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
There's terrible things going on, I'd really just like to have a thought for Jamaica, which may not be here by Monday morning. The way things are going, and just everybody just have maybe a moment of silence that we get through this. Public comments, there aren't too many public people here. Joanne, anything?
Not for me today.
We're not. Go ahead. I mean, I guess I don't know if we put things right or not, it's only 3 people.
Oh, what do you,
Okay, thanks, Gerard.
do with this one? But on. Jerry, Burton Cat, 373 Town Bowl Circle. Please try to send out notices about your meeting. I didn't see it in the monthly. If I didn't hear about it, word of mouth, the only other place was on the floor, the weekly listing of what's going on in the bowl. And try to coordinate it with other things when they're doing like the meeting for safe drivers, to get a safe driver certificate, or the insurance meeting. There's 50 to 60 people over there. Some of them might want to come there too. So that important meeting where a lot of people show up. Try to coordinate it with the time. Okay, thank you.
Our meetings, as you know, are scheduled here in advance, so it's not like we can change ours. We're gonna need cooperation to know that we're here now.
Can't remember from a year to year. Okay, so monthly,
You know, knowing you, I know you how to use a computer. You could always look that up, but thank you.
that way you don't have to send your wife to the meeting.
Very good
Notes
points.
about the Medicare. Right, it's in there, notes for you. Okay.
Would we be able to, Brian, work with the management company and get a sign out there the way the, I guess it's kind of one word, the way they do it? Thank you. Anybody else? Go ahead, Paul. Can you get to it? You need to bring it to you.
We can.
Paul Green's 3150 Lacante. Just wanted to address the pressure washing. I know I sent in a picture of what the sidewalks look like over by us, to Brian and some others that received it. And I know that there was where you look at doing it every 2 years. I also remember maybe a couple years ago, I believe chairperson was looking at doing intermediate, where every year there are certain areas that have the same problem, and to have somebody come in and do spot cleaning in those areas so that there's a consistency through the community, that it looks good all of the time, like we're trying to achieve. So I think the maintenance aspect is very important, just like trying to do the maintenance with the pools and tennis courts and bocce and the spa, etc., so that there's a maintenance aspect to it. And I noticed that in one of the contract areas that they proposed not only to do the initial, but to do follow-ups every quarter and then add on other years. And those other years were at a fixed price without any increase. And when I sort of looked at that, it sort of achieves the overall goal that we would like to have, keep those parks and sidewalks clean year round. And I took a 4-year plan, put it together, and it broke down to, without any negotiations, about $3 or less per resident per month to kind of keep our community really looking well. We have the landscaping, but the sidewalks, walkways through the parks, etc., need some work. So that was just kind of a thought, is to try and look at the maintenance aspect. I know when you do contracts, because of quote the government entity, you have to look at things I think there's a way to massage contracts to include maintenance.
Thank you. We're actually gonna discuss that later.
I know.
Okay, so, all points are well taken.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Paul. Thanks, Paul. Anybody else out there? I can't see people in the back. Okay, we'll go on. Univer updates? Come on, Bill. How many you got done, Bill?
Morning,
Yep.
Bill Fisher with you from landscaping. I had a plan and then it rained Sunday night. So the hope is we will be able to, focus on the dry areas and accessible areas first. With that said, what we're trying to do is not just kind of spot everywhere. If I can't do a whole park, I'm not going to touch the park. If I can't cut the whole pond without causing damage to anything, I'm not going to touch the pond. Trying to really just avoid the damage to the turf, the damage to our machinery, and just work through everything. As it dries up, we'll get it mowed. That's really the biggest plan as far as mowing. And then detail, we are currently at the back gate, doing the detail on the back gate, and then next week, the plan is to come and do the boulevard. We're gonna trim the ligustrums, gonna pencil prune the crepe myrtles, get all the sucker branches off everything. Any sucker branches on the magnolias or the Japanese blueberry that, just go down the boulevard, get the boulevard looking nice. And then after that, we're going to focus on the back phases, parts 5, 6, 7, 8. We've done the front phases already. And then the weed treatment is you're doing the boulevard today. So weed treatment in the boulevard today. And then in front of Victor, our detail foreman, so that he can really focus on the trimming and the pruning of everything.
Anybody have any questions for Bill? Yeah, go ahead.
I had given you guys that reuse as-built last time. Have you had a chance to go and check and see if you could find anything in that corner?
I don't like it. I mean, out there poking, trying to track fires.
Okay, so Ken, what that relates back to is microphone, you have to be able to turn on. I don't know what to tell you. It's not- Come on.
There you
We had provided that reuse as built and the document, showed that there was potential, maybe a connection on the north side of one of those ponds. It doesn't show from a mapping perspective, but they were in proximity that perhaps there was an interconnect there, so that I provided that drawing to.
Well, I guess Chris couldn't find anything, right?
It sounds like you couldn't find anything.
We're back to square zero.
And we went out there with him, it's been an hour or so.
Do the witching wires and try and find it. It's the only way I know how to do it. I mean, I don't know, short of digging everything up, but.
I mean, we could probably do some.
Just to refresh the memory on this issue, this has to do with separating the north and the south irrigation lines that are in the ground. We've been looking at this for a number of years now, and we've struck out finding the valves that we can actually split the north irrigation main lines from the south irrigation main lines, where each pump will handle each separately. But they could be interconnected if we needed to, but we have not been successful figuring that out.
How did the building go up? Let it get away with it.
So I don't think. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you've got a
I mean, I'm not a singer. I see him doing it on TV, I'm like, it's so awkward, but I guess it's their microphone, so it's fine. The answer is they didn't, but there's a difference between putting in reused irrigation mains, which are the purple pipe, in the streets and are the backbone skeletal system of the irrigation system, and what was put on to irrigate common areas and lots, which is just your standard, white PVC pipe. And in saying that, not only is there a difference in how it's installed, there's a difference in who installed it. And, without being, everyone tries to do their best and does their best job. But if you're out there and you're charged with connecting a 2-inch irrigation pipe along the backside of the lake. It connects into this lot because that's all common irrigation area. And you see that there's a big purple pipe there in a valve, you're probably gonna connect to it even though you shouldn't. And so those aren't mapped. So like what I have is, from a construction standpoint, when the community was developed and the stormwater ponds were dug and the sidewalks were built, the roads were put in and the sewer was laid and the water installation was done and the purple irrigation pipe, which we called reuse, was installed, I have maps of that. It's called an as-built survey. I know where those are. Nobody, I shouldn't say nobody, very rarely does anybody ever map out the irrigation on somebody's lot and where those irrigation heads are. It just doesn't, it's not commonplace. And so that's where the challenge is trying to figure out if there is some, I'll say, anomaly or random interconnection to that system. And that's what we're trying to pinpoint and find.
So we'll have to wait for you.
Hopefully not.
Not.
No, hopefully not. I mean, so what we've done, we did find, like, we know there's an, I'll call it an isolation valve out here just in front of the clubhouse. And we exercised that valve. It didn't crack. It opened and closed well, which was great, but it didn't have any impact on the telemetry data that came through from Hoover Pump when they were looking at that pumping system. Those valves would have been, yes, yeah. And so we were worried that the gaskets, you know, the rubbers inside them, maybe, you know, not being exercised, they could have been challenged, but it seemed like that wasn't a problem. I thought maybe we found a smoking gun in this other corner. It sounds like we haven't. I can't find, at least on paper, a connection back here. There's actually no main irrigation line behind the clubhouse connecting phases 1 and 5, which is what these two, north and south of the clubhouse are called. So there, in theory, should not be any interconnection there. I see you nodding out of my purpose, so they're shit at me. I think the next step to do, I'd like to say we're entering the dry season. I know that's almost a funny statement, given the rain that is incoming and has been coming lately. But, you know, we need to specifically make an effort to try and figure it out with Hoover on the phone, have their, you know, techs stand by and maybe run that test for a little bit longer. Because again, it doesn't make sense that we close that valve and they didn't see at least some sort of change. There should have been something. So either the valve didn't really close, like it turned, but maybe it didn't really shut, which isn't unheard of. But just, you know, chasing that down a little bit better.
Well, that's
Figuring that out.
guys went much longer to try to get it done. Because you couldn't wait in water to get it done. I think we should put it on the list. I think so.
Yes.
Are you done?
So that it's corrected and completed. I mean,
But not during the wet season.
No.
No.
it doesn't do any good. I mean, it's raining, it's fine.
Right.
Well, break down some whenever they want.
Well, that is true.
Right.
That's with your other options. Well, hold up. So this irrigation RFP overhaul that we're doing,
Microphone?
if there, that has nothing to do with the,
No, I didn't think.
Microphone.
So this won't, the wiring that you're doing
No.
won't impact?
No.
Okay.
No.
No, it's not any of that.
So let me ask you 3 quick questions, because I'm going to sit down and Kenny's going to go into it. Number one, congratulations on getting the award again from the Highway Board, which will put us in the corner. We'll have no choice. We're like you guys anyhow.
Thank you.
Number 2, on the waterways, I get 2 of the biggest complaints. I've probably been here as long or longer than anyone on this board. And number 1 is water, number 2 is sidewalk. So on the water, you guys go all the way to the edge because the pond people make sure there are no weeds on the edge there. There's a little water going through and then the weeds start. So once in a while, I see you guys backing off 3-4 feet from the edge and it's higher than the rest of the mowing that they do. Are you supposed to go all the way to water?
So if they're not doing the pass by the, like the pond, the edge, is that what you're saying? Okay. They're probably avoiding trying to avoid sliding into the pond with the mower. But they're supposed to come back and weeding it instead.
Okay.
So if they're not doing that, hopefully we are starting a new QC process where we have one of our employees that's QCing 2 times a week. They're going behind the detail people and QCing that. And they're also
So
going
the
behind.
answer is you're going to take care of it. Right?
Yes, yeah.
we actually had, back when Brighton was here, 2 mowers in the water. One of them was behind your place. There, they got too close and this grade was too steep and tipped over into the water. It's not good. So they have to be cautious about that with the grade. And that's why we're gonna come back with weed whackers to take care of it down to the water. In some places it's flat, no problem. Other places, the grade is too steep.
You said one other thing to me when I was watching you guys fix that valve. And I want everyone in this board to hear what you said. To me. Basically, what you said to me was, now that we got a new valve in there, it's gonna work at 100%. We have no idea what that's gonna do downstream to the other valves that are not working. And the reason I'm bringing this up is, we're gonna have to put more money away. Because we can almost be guaranteed now that the pressure's been increased to one area, it's gonna pop something in another.
Definitely.
So, too bad there's not enough people out here to hear that.
Yeah.
But that's gonna be a major, major problem that we're gonna put money away from.
I actually had the same thoughts, reading the detail about it, that this is only the beginning.
Yeah,
And this is just highlighting what's likely to happen.
well, we have an exercise for all these valves.
Right.
That's another issue.
problem because the sprinkler system itself is like almost a do-it-yourself lot by lot, whereas the system is overall
Mhm.
is one major system, and it's that conversion between the two.
Right.
We're in between a homeowner's do-it-yourself project and trying to do it.
I learned a new word, because somebody didn't like me calling this an old community, so I called it a mature community. And, that's what it is. It's 21 years old and things are going to break. Guys,
Yeah. I don't know if they would be the ones to answer it or who, but I noticed in the report that we had, it said that the pumps were coming on numerous amount of
We're gonna
times.
go over that.
Okay,
let you do that.
thank you.
Any more questions? Next one, Kenny,
No, I can start my brief.
start your report.
First of all, I'd like to thank,
Did you have anything to say?
No, I'm just gonna be here for Ken.
he's there for support. We might as well have a seat for a minute. Yeah. First, I'd like to thank our staff. What I mean by that is Brian, the work that he's been doing, Han, our engineer, and Wes and Kyle. The things that they do, a lot of stuff behind, the scenes, which, I just wanted to recognize them today. And also to Juniper, they've been dealing with, Mother Nature. Now, dealing with Mother Nature, usually you're not gonna win. Right? Mother Nature is the all-powerful effect here at Heritage Island. So anyway, let's go over the reports here. In September, the primary challenge then was the heavy and continuous rains. This excessive water saturation affected the mow scheduling throughout Heritage Island. In fact, some days were totally lost mow days due to oversaturation. And during those days, they focused the workers on detailing efforts, so the labor didn't go for naught. Each day, Juniper had the supervisors walk the phases, including the CDD property, and determine where mowing could be done without rutting the property. Property is the worst thing we can do. That causes the most complaints. Trimming, the Legacy Boulevard hedge line has been trimmed and looks neat, but that was back in September. So we're still growing, so we can expect that to get trimmed pretty soon. Right, Bill?
Yes.
Okay. The Park 4 trees on the north end has some low hanging limbs. That was told to Juniper, and I believe they already removed some of the limbs over there. Irrigation wet sheds continue. Minor adjustments and repairs. And of course, on 17th September, we experienced a CUD mainline break at the corner of Abbeville and Carambola. The irrigation team was right there. I'd say they got there within a half an hour when it was noticed, maybe less. That's how fast they responded to this. And when Chris came over, the pumps were secured immediately. They were put in idle. That means nothing's getting irrigated. Now, we expected the repairs at that time, the quick rough order of magnitude was, we can get it done in about 5 days. Initially. Not so fast. Mother Nature again comes to play. It took 2 weeks to secure the problem at the irrigation line level. 2 weeks. The problem was excessive water running into the hole. Now, we are in Florida. not the North Pole. The builder, whoever put that line in, decided it would be really good to put it 9 feet down. I think we don't have a freeze line here that needs a 9-foot main line installed. So they finally got to it. And the problem was the valve. It wasn't the pipe. So they had to start making repairs on that. In the meantime, Chris, Bill, the whole irrigation staff was in their mud, waist high. I know Chris was in there because I saw him down in there. They had 2 pumps running to get the water out of there. They had to get a mud pump in here to get the mud out of there. Took them 2 weeks to get to the valve. I mean, I was going over there every day, check on them.
So is that.
And Bob was over there. I've seen him a couple times over there. This is unbelievable work these guys did to get this thing repaired. If we didn't have an irrigation team on property, we might still be waiting to get the thing repaired. So that's the beauty of having our own irrigation staff on property. Furthermore, you know, I just want to thank them for all the hard work that they did to get it repaired. Now, during the repair, there was damage to the corner there. We had to knock down one of the palm trees. We basically tore up the concrete sidewalk. Gonna have to repair the side. So I'm gonna discuss that a little bit later on the estimates and how much it's gonna cost that we're paying for to get this fixed and finished. The phase 3 irrigation overhaul, we are basically on track with that. It's a dual effort between the HIDA and the CDD. The company that has the contract is DVI, Eddie Duvall. And they are underway flagging all the valves. We have 183 zones over there. So they were all been marked, and he's already started the wire installation in there. The locates were already put in place by the county, so that's ongoing. The tail of the tape is the HIDA piece is $119,225, and the CDD piece is $27,035. The CDD proposal includes a new controller. So we have controller 8 and 9 over there, they're coming out. And we're putting a brand new Hunter ACC2 controller in its place, which handles 225 zones. We only have 183, so one controller can handle the whole phase.
We actually budgeted earlier for control, didn't we?
Yeah, we have, but we have funds for this already.
Yes.
So that would shape.
That would, actually 27,000 minus the 8 that we already put aside is what we have to take out of the replacement budget now.
Right. Yeah, well, these are all FY25 expenses.
Right.
That we charge us to, because
The
the project.
extra expenses that we didn't realize at first.
Yeah, but we
The
still get a good deal.
8,000 we did.
Right. Initially, we thought it was gonna be like 50,000. You guys gave me authority up to 55.
We knew you wanted to do it.
No, so based on that, you know, we got the job for half of what we expected for the CDD piece, which is good.
Want me to hold my question to the end or ask me while you're on this?
How about let me get done first? Then you can ask the Bob.
Thank you.
So moving on to October, another heavy rains causing heritage job properties to become oversaturated. And not only did the rains affect the landscape services, it affected our overall drainage system. Some of the drains reached near full capacity, causing the receive rate to slow down. And to make matters worse and more of a challenge, our sidewalks were also affected, leaving some areas with dirt-laden surfaces needing spot power washing until we commenced the overall power washing project. General landscaping. During all the rain, Juniper was able to adjust schedules to accommodate mowing, especially on Legacy Boulevard. Legacy Boulevard, most of the areas have adequate grading to prevent ponding. As such, they were able to mow and keep Legacy Boulevard presentable during all this heavy rain. The parks and pond side property was most affected, and mowing had to be delayed until the property could take the mowing without causing unsightly ruts. We have to handle these unusual mother nature events with patience to avoid property damage. These mowers are heavy and do not work well in the mud. I mean, we had one property owner, the actual mower got stuck in the yard, in the mud. The detail crews have been busy with park maintenance, trimming hedges and weeding where required. Also, the detail crews have been working on Legacy Boulevard, keeping our shrubs trimmed down, keeping their appearance looking sharp. With the fresh application of mulch, the fresh enhances the general appearance. The side street path shrubs within the phases have been pruned and will continue on a monthly basis to keep them looking sharp. Now we get to the irrigation mainline rupture, prepared by the Juniper irrigation team. Chris and Bill did a great job to determine what needed to be done. The damage to get our irrigation system back online. As provided via separate correspondence, the repair effort was costly. And exactly for the irrigation and 6-inch gate valve, it cost $21,938 and change. The property restoration, $4,176.20. And to repair the sidewalk, $3,800 for a grand total of $29,014.44. These expenses were accrued on the 2025 books. So they're not affecting my 2026 budget, which is already underway. We have the available funds to do that. Right, Brian?
Yes, we did, and we will be reviewing financials and we coded those too.
Right. Again, Juniper did an excellent job getting that repaired. Now, moving on to the bulldozers, I think we can start doing some more bullnose upgrades, refreshes. Coming to the board. And now that the weather is starting to cool down, we're supposed to start getting some cooler nights and days. We can probably take on a few more corners. I think Camberley and Carambola should be next, heading south. We started at Savoy, we're moving that way. So I'm asking the board, I'd like to move to get a not to exceed $10,000 to do 2 corners from the board.
So I have a motion from
Can I
Ken,
get a second on that?
second,
Second by Bob.
second from Bob, all in favor? All in favor?
Wait, is, oh,
Vote.
Yes.
Yes.
Discussion.
yes.
David?
Dave,
Yes. Ken?
Joe?
Yes.
Yes. Ken?
Good.
Okay.
So my only issue right now is we've been going to these jobs, and Juniper. I'm having a hard time getting hold of Chris right now, so hopefully he's on vacation. When he gets back, I'll let you
No,
know.
it's because everybody in the community knows his name now.
They probably do. Maybe he's getting overloaded.
Is this money enough for you, Ken? That's not a question.
Yeah, I want to take the slow route with this. Do 2 more corners between now and next meeting, which will be probably in January, and then we'll do another one after that.
Okay. Anybody else have any questions on the board?
Okay. So for the joint landscape committee, because I'm double hatted. Here's just some of the highlights, from our report for the JLC. Mulching. The homeowner lots are done with mulching. The CDD is done. The only thing that's hanging out there is some homeowners want to mulch their backyards. So now Juniper's coming up with the proposals for those homeowners. There's 48 of them in here. And I'm one of them. Okay, to get our backyards mulched. So they're working on that. One of the things that we stressed when the contract for next year is awarded is that we expect a turnaround in Juniper handling backyards and sides of the properties. Not necessarily CDD because we don't have any houses on CDD property, but they're going to refocus on that to make sure that each home gets a 360 detail. I raised that as an issue to them even before it was awarded, that they're going to have to focus on that and get that right. Because we are going to be watching. Not playing around. And they know. Especially Bill knows and Chris knows and Ronnie knows. Right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. We still have irrigation timers that are out in the field. Chris is working to reduce those. We have 17 that are in use. We got 6 on the CDD property. down the southern part of Legacy. We got 5 on the clubhouse property and a few more in some other areas. I've already talked about the DVI project that's underway. We're doing pretty good there. And working with the clubhouse staff on the landscape contract for the clubhouse. So we're reviewing that. We should have something for the board by the November meeting on that. So any questions so far?
The only question I have is, we're already doing phase 3 now. We have the pricing and everything. Have we done the other phases? Like, 1 was really worse than 3, but.
1 will be next.
So have we done the pricing on 1? Has that come up for
Not yet.
approval? Because we're gonna need approval. Too.
Yes. We can't do the project and we have a team on together. We have to have both.
So what I would like to see happen is when they're done with phase 3, immediately go over, if they're awarded, because we do have other bids. Immediately start, instead of losing them going and starting another job somewhere else and telling us they're gonna have to come back.
We have to have a game plan done before the end of the month. Right.
Okay.
I'm all over it.
So based on the price on this, how much money you think phase 3 is gonna cost?
For the CD,
Say phase 1 rather, because it's gonna be more money than that.
I'd say about 50,000.
That's what we need to plan.
I'm saying 50,000 because it's going to require 2 controllers in there. Right?
You have what, 1.5 times the size of,
Yes,
of 3.
but the max that the controller can cover is 225.
It's almost 300.
We have more than that in phase 1, so we're gonna have 2 controllers in there. Right, Chris? Okay,
So that's one, everybody out there to know, that it's gonna cost a lot more money. And
now
we know it's not the question of whether we're gonna be able to jump right into doing 1 once we're done with 3.
I don't want this interrupted. I want it to go.
We have the budget.
We have the
It's not,
money
it's
to
gonna be up to the company too, right? Because they're getting other work they're putting off, but if they can push us ahead and only 5 years to do it, it might be worth it. Get another crew. And I want to really understand, this is only the electrical part. This has nothing to do with the real irrigation, which is all pipes. And those pipes are also 21 years old. So as insurance we are, we need to be realistic about things that can happen. But
Yeah, but that's been the burning platform is the wire.
Yep.
So we have to tackle that first.
I'm interested in getting, 3 done because mine can go down 4 months. Picture about
If we want it to go continuous from 3 into 1. That's the goal. So we have a little bit of time to get that, but we want to see the performance that this yields us.
it. Yeah, but we have 2 boards of bonds, so we gotta coordinate that both of them.
Right.
And he's working on that in the back end. We coded the irrigation overhaul to the previous year financials. So we were able to squeeze in the budget. So now it's liberated all the budget for this.
Yeah, I understand all of that, I live in the community. And
Sure.
We are jumping into that as soon as this is done, based on getting the approval from both boards.
Right, this is a partnership. This can't work unless we have a partnership with the highway. I mean, that's the way it works. in this
I don't think we have a problem there, I think I'll cooperate very well. Now if we used to be a Herb problem, now it's a higher problem, because, they are Herb. So we go from there.
And
Yes.
which, entity is actually doing the mapping?
They're gonna give us a,
Is it DVI? you're doing the-
Yes.
DVI,
yes,
and we're gonna own it afterwards,
yes.
correct? Just making sure.
Well, we are gonna own it and also Hygus can own it.
Yeah, I just meant we have,
Hygus is the big piece.
all of us. Yeah, because it was done years ago, and we couldn't get it. Thank you.
That's part of the situation, but we'll know where everything is without saying please show me. Good question.
Yep.
Thank you, go ahead.
Any other questions on that? Then we have the Rosetta report on the agenda.
Matt's on the call if you need him.
Okay, if you're looking at, I don't know where it is in here,
Tab 1.
tab 1,
Scroll down a little bit.
there's a Rosetta report in there, with the, actually, it's report isn't that large, but they did, Matt pointed out some good areas in there that we need to actually, take care of. So if you're looking at this report, I can go through it real quick. Number one actually is a what? Bad, down with the pond, so I've already talked to Bill. They're gonna be putting soil sod in one spot down there. 2A, that's a date pond that's dying, it's gotta come out. So we have a proposal in for that.
I have a question on that one.
Yep,
When I leave Heritage Isle and then I turn left, going down Wickham, there's another palm tree that even looks worse than this one, and it is probably on the homeowner's property, but
Which way?
you turn left when you leave the front gate
Okay,
towards the hospital. You don't travel very far, maybe halfway between here and Wyndham. And you can't miss this tree. It looks worse than that one.
That is what I'm always.
It probably is, but I thought I'd mention the same way they hear that they can take a look at that tree also. It probably has the same disease.
did you catch that?
I did. Any trees along that area that are in decline, we should note and either notify the homeowner or, because that can spread disease to other palm trees and it'll just exacerbate as the years go on. So if we can remove everything that we can, when we see it, that's the ultimate goal, to prevent it from happening to other trees.
Jennifer,
you're talking down on the
the
window,
photo, and then just send it to us and Matt when you get a chance. Thank you, guys.
right, down the sidewalk by the window then. Yeah, could be on CV property or it could be on the homeowner lot.
I walked over there, it was on the home,
On the homeowners, okay.
But even then,
but that's
the
okay.
district will remove things that are in.
They
So
surface the whole property.
Okay, well,
they just want to make sure it looks as ugly as that, if not worse. So I want to point it out.
okay, good comment. Anyway, that's on the list to come out. 3A, there's some, valve box over there that needs to be repaired. I think that's been done.
Has been done.
That's been done. Item number 3B, same thing there. You finished up that job, right?
Yes.
All right.
Nice.
And then the other one, 4. Then we have some issues with spraying for the crack weeds by the pergola. I let Matt pick that up because that's a pet peeve of mine, is those crack weeds. So you guys sprayed it already? No.
Yes.
Okay. So then we have another, erosion problem over on the same pond that we fixed a year ago. And I can't believe it's wind that's doing this because I think it's the runoff of the water
Is that
going back into the pond. The other side of the pond over there, which would be the southwest part of it, we fixed last year. It's holding up good. So now we have the problem on the complete opposite side of the pond.
Same pond?
Same pond, if you look where it says 8. So there's a proposal in for that, to fix it. Same with the run out on 9A and 9B. And also, if you look in the last page here of the items, item 10, we've got some dead hedges over there on Van Ness, which really we should have picked that up earlier. Can't believe it's gone this long until they have our inspector come in here and see that. So Bill, you need to take notes in this.
Yes.
I mean, it's not like it's one little shrub here that died, it's the whole line there.
Like 6.
No, it's like 12.
On both sides?
And then plus over in Park 1, where we've got the statues. On the north part of that park, there's dead viburnum in there or hawthorn that needs to come out. So Matt did a good job identifying these things and he came up with a proposal to do the work. I have that here. We got this on Friday, so it didn't make the package. But we gotta do this. So he's got a proposal in to remove the disease date pond, fix the pond embankment in phase 6, the ornamental grass bed repair in phase 8, the Van Ness sidewalk viburnum replacement, and fix remove the Indian Hawthorne in Park 1. All of that, the total to be $4,663.
I'm gonna make a motion if we approve the proposal to take care of all of those areas.
Motion from Joe. Second to the motion.
I would only ask, in that pond that you identified, or that palm that you identified right outside, that it could almost be included in the cost.
Everybody must take a picture of it, you know.
Okay, so they'll need to talk to the homeowner too, so, all right. I'll.
Right now, the assumption is it's not our fault.
We have a second from John Smolligan. All in favor?
Good.
Discussion. Discussion.
Yeah. How often are we gonna get this request from that?
Matt, you're doing quarterly or not quarterly, every other month?
Yeah, it's every other month. And on my next inspection, I just wanted to let you guys know what I'll do is I'll make sure that I'm walking that path on the other side of the pond near the main entrance there to try to identify any palms that may be going into decline, just to kind of keep an eye on it. Because sometimes that bronzing disease and stuff like that really spreads, like the Ganoderma and stuff like that, it spreads pretty quick. So I'll just keep an eye on it. I'll keep monitoring it, and I'll make sure I keep on reporting it if I see anything. To get it early is to save everything else. So.
Yeah, the thing I think we're sensitive to is anything that's dead on CDD property, it needs to be removed as soon as we know about it. I mean, that's the worst thing, is having something that's dead palm, dead oak, or whatever it is. So in your inspection, please be cognizant of the fact that we don't want any dead plants on CDD property.
If I- yeah.
Or they-
Hyder cannot vote on a item that's not on the agenda, specifically invoices that's in the board packet in advance. I'm assuming that the CBD operates under different rules and can do that.
Yes, if something comes up that we need to vote on, we just allow it to be voted on immediately, even though it's not there. Normally, we'd have everybody talk about it, but there's nobody here, so we can skip that issue.
Okay.
And yeah, as long as the public is able to comment on it, if there were any public
Hear you.
comment on it.
Hearing that.
Yes.
Perfect. The way to stand up the meeting. As long as we're getting, as long as the public has an opportunity to comment on it, we're good to walk stuff onto the agenda. If it's not able to make it onto the 7-day window we've got before. How does the public comment on it if it's not on the agenda? I mean, we can open it up for public comment if the public wishes to comment on it.
It appears the proposal is here, just not the amount of money.
No, it's got the amount of money.
Oh, it does?
Yeah.
The issue that we have, and the reason we've always been allowed to do that is we meet every other month. Sometimes you don't want to wait 60 days or something like that. So I've seen it opened up when people are actually out there, where you've got 3 people and 1 talker. So, they would react immediately, but, so we've always, all I'm doing is following precedent.
Okay, you call the question.
Okay.
We have one I have to do that, so Kim said, this is not policy, by the way. Something that's gonna die in 36 months, if you put that on the list, let us know ahead of time, so we can, kind of put money away for it when we budget, not knowing that that's also gonna go. And it was nice having this done.
He's doing a great job.
Thank you, man.
Is Matt aware of the scheduled meetings of the CDD over the course of the year? That it's pretty traditional schedule. And I was wondering if Matt's report, if it could be kind of done 2 weeks prior to our meeting, it might be more current and match our meeting dates a little bit. Is that possible, or is there any sense to that?
Well, I think there is, but if there's gonna be proposals with the inspection, you know, we gotta get that in front of the board because it's a maintenance action. See, it's a CDD maintenance requirement we're dealing with here.
That's why I was thinking I'd like to get it closer to when the meetings are gonna be scheduled and prior to those meetings, so if Matt does spot anything that we need to do. that-
Well, we should schedule him more in advance of the meeting. That way it
Well,
can
we-
be staffed properly and get it onto the agenda. We just got this on Friday. Okay?
Yeah,
So-
well, I'm
So
not trying to
we
interrupt.
need to take a look
We had
at-
actually had like a schedule for the beginning of October, but that day that we scheduled the meeting with Bill and everything like that, it was raining that week. So we had to push it back like another week in order to get the inspection with Bill and stuff like that. So I do apologize for the
Okay.
late inspection. But typically, yes, typically I try to do my inspections to give a long heads up on things that I noticed, but it was just the weather kind of screwed with our schedule this time.
But
We need to vote, if we didn't vote, close out the vote, but I do want to say before we do our discussion, it would it be prudent that in a situation like this, as president, you have the authority with spending limit to just make that call in between meetings, because Kevin said when this happens, it should be done right away. But you have that authority to do it.
I'll go further with John makes a good point. We'd like to study this before it comes up, so we can have answers and not have the day of the meeting. So he's doing it early to get it out. You know, it just happened, there was a problem this month because of the rain. So.
So we can finally look this way so we can get this going.
Well, have Brian, once he gets to report the pictures, forward out to the supervisors, so they can look at it before the meeting occurs. And at that point, either have any questions or say, yes, certainly, something that I want to go take a look at. So I think that's a very good point, John.
Well, we have 6 meetings and it sounds like Mark does about 6 searches. And I think Mark's looking at it 2 to 3 weeks in advance of our meeting date would give us the most current benefit of his report. So,
You know, we used to have it that way, but we haven't had these reports in a while now.
that's right.
So now that we're back on it, we can find the errors and qualify them and fix them, just like you did. Thank you.
We have one kind of strange gap at the end of between May and August. There's quite a stretch there where we don't have a meeting. And that
Well,
might,
we didn't have an inspector.
yes,
We had about a 4 or 5 month gap there. We had nobody from Rosetta doing.
I'm very aware of that.
Right.
And I'm glad to see Mark back.
That's
Now,
Matt.
No, Matt.
Matt, sorry.
Yeah,
That-
Fisher's, health concerns, so Matt has jumped in full swing. It does, just to know, it does take Matt, from the time that he does the report, a time period to be able to provide the report. So there is a likelihood that, like, if we're trying to schedule it for our meetings, he'll probably do it a month in advance of the meeting, because then it'll give him 2 weeks to prep the report and put it onto the agenda.
Totally within what is the best thing for getting the best report to us. So whatever works.
And we will send, to your point, Bob, we'll send them directly to the board even in advance of the meeting.
Yeah, I think John makes very good, it's probably a little bit.
Okay.
But,
So can we get a vote on this?
So the motion on the board was, motion by Joe, seconded by John, approving estimate 369390 as read on record. Take a vote. All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries. Back to you, Kevin.
All right, then we need to talk about the Hoover pump reports. And maybe Chris can help me out in this, but in your package, you'll see some charts about our pumps. We have the north pump and the south pump.
Scroll down on tab 1, tab 2.
Now, we get these from our friends down here, at Hoover. They come up and inspect our pumps, they do maintenance on our pumps. There are experts on our pumps, but we do have an expert with Chris. He knows how to operate these pumps. and he's the operational manager for our pumps. So we got the report here on the north pump. There's a couple of areas that look red in there. One of them has to do with the times that the pump is turned on and off. What Hoover would like to see with the pumps is very minimal turning on and off. But you gotta know a little bit of history to this. Jump in if I say something wrong.
Well,
Chris. Here we go with Mother Nature. September and October, even part of August. Too much rain. So the pumps were idle because we weren't using them as much. But I say that, but on the other side is that we still have to do the wet checks on homeowner lots and CD lots. So when the wet check is done, the system has to be fully pressurized. Which means that during the day, it's possible they may have to turn the pumps on and off so that the technician can do the wet check. Because there is no wet check, there is no water coming out of the system, right? So that's additive to the number of times the pump, on average, is turned on and off during the course of the day. Is that correct?
Correct. Especially when there's a lot of rain, you know, because it will either bypass it, you know, which will open up for a window that you can run it. You know, and we're not trying to add massive amounts of water back into the yard, so we could still perform checks and do work orders and stuff like that. So we will try to minimize the runtime as a whole. So we can, you know, still do a job, but also not cause more damage to yards.
You gotta do record this all remotely, right?
Yes,
Right, you can do it all remotely.
yes.
So the north pump had more on and off than the pump in the south, which is right out here from the clubhouse. The only exception here, if you scroll to the next pump, because all the other stuff is just good information to have, is that, he got an alert. There was one alert that happened, on the south pump. When we had the main line break, the lines were completely drained. That process took a couple of weeks, basically. Not just with the pipe draining, but also the other water going down here. And when we got it finished, when Chris went to turn the system back on, that pump thought there was another leak.
Yeah.
So picture this, you know, that water has to build up back into the system. That's what those VFDs do on the pump. It's like a variable frequency drives. They're in the pumps that regulate the speed of the water going in. So because there was nothing in the system, it was a complete reload. And that caused the alert to go,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, it shut the pumps down because it thought there was, you know, another main line to prevent damage, it turned it off.
When you guys were fixing that, you didn't just close the valves to bypass that or to isolate yourselves while you're doing work?
We're debating isolating that area off, but going back and forth, we were kind of worried about the risk of shutting too. That's what it helps, you know, because it would have taken out some of the water, plus we still could run the rest of the community.
Right.
But, I mean, it's like we're still covered up.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the pumps are in good shape, but we had, you know, that malady there. Because they caused it to go a little bit tilt. We're gonna turn it back on.
I think the best thing to get the options for whether they can stop.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. And that's in the package today for the board to consider for approval.
Your annual maintenance
Yeah.
coming up.
That's pretty much it for me.
Okay.
We've been busy.
I would like to add one comment, which is I really appreciate Ken having been able to get the trees replaced in the Phase 4 park. I was there when the gentleman brought him, Mr. Drews, did I get his name right?
Chris, yeah.
Chris, one of them, or, you know, they did bring the trees, they're doing very nicely, and it's an interesting thing that we took the opportunity to put trees back into the park where they used to be, so that they'll regrow and provide a shade along the walkways. And I was wondering, are there any other parks or areas where would benefit from that? Because it takes so long for the trees.
We have a refine.
There is another area I think we need to look at, probably starting in the next year, is over there between Quid and Balboa. They come back to the board and ask if we can put a dwarf or burners in there.
Forgot Mary.
There will be a nice thing to close out that area. We already put 2 beds in there with a couple of crepe myrtles and some
Right.
Zoras in there.
You know, like along with doing, we're doing the bull noses on Legacy Boulevard. But I think it's also a good thing that at some point we look at parks and say, this would do, we have room, we can put trees, and which is why phase 4 is nice. There's quite a bit of open area.
Yes.
And these trees will give it a chance to break that open area.
Next time we go to the pleasure shop, you should bring that up.
I will, if I'm here that long.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I know the area over there, so we'll come up with something for that.
On the subject.
All right, so, the, Tigris, who are formerly known as Aquagenics. Thanks, guys. They reported in our last board meeting, they're working on the soft stem brush proposal. So Bob and I will continue those efforts. And then if you recall, a couple months ago, there was a report from our fountain, vendor on rust of the boxes on the fountains. And those, boxes were installed by Tigris, who was formerly known as Aquagenics. We reported it to see if there was some form of warranty on these boxes. They said that it was natural for these boxes to, with time, to take that appearance. So we could look into replacing it as a maintenance item, but the integrity of the fountain and the shell that holds it together is not compromised. So it's not something that you need attention unless you're worried about aesthetics.
Any idea of the cost?
Not yet. And then we did have an issue with fountain lights that Ken and I have been working on. So we are, going with the seasons of the holiday. For October, it should be orange and yellow through the fall season. And then for, Christmas timeline, we will have the green and the red for the fountain lights. Open, other feedback, just message me separately.
Is it acceptable, or do we have to have different colors than the white?
Right.
Or do you want to make them white?
White and blue at some point.
White is generic, white is classy and generic and get no complaints.
It's the board's discretion.
That's why we're bringing it up.
I had complaints about colors. You know, white is generic, so it's correct. Most people would like to just leave with white. Then call me, maybe call Ken to say something else. But, I would like to just see the color white, to be honest.
Plain white. Any other thoughts? Plain white?
I believe that'll
I'm
also.
pretty dull myself. I kind of agree with that.
Plain.
That'll look like, that'll go along nicely with the palms that I believe are gonna be all white this year.
So, do you want a motion plan or?
Nah,
You do it?
yeah.
You know, if you don't like it, we can always put the lenses back in.
Yeah, all right, so I'll reach out to the fountain company.
The other problem is the weeds and, the growth there. I keep telling everyone we have to wait for the dry season and see what happens. Cause right now, everything's very hot.
Wheat.
So there's nobody here that complains about that to me, so we can go on at this point, I think.
All right, let's get back to the lights.
Well, the lights, I'm fine with the white.
Okay,
On the ponds, I did get before the meeting a complaint on a pond on gambling.
Where I live,
And so
she's not here, or I go into it.
this is someone else, and sent a photograph of So that is a concern with.
Okay, so I'll go into what we plan on doing again, which is actually did at the last meeting. It's the wet season now, so everything's hot. They can't go out there and, kill off with the high growth. It takes approximately 6 to 9 months for it to die out. So they were gonna go through and open it up a little bit. We made some, I guess samples behind a couple of houses and it looked pretty good. The problem is that the bid to do the whole community was totally way over. So we decided to go back and try to do section by section to open it up. Number one, weeding it from the top, and I don't like to use the word poisoning it, but I am opening up and making less of a growth in here. We cannot do that and cannot start that again until December meeting. We're not gonna probably have a December meeting, so it'll be January, because it's not meeting in the dry season. We're gonna do that where the chemicals are protecting our dog.
I think to also, I saw Bridgewater's budget. 26, and the board of Bridgewater was debating. See Frank, in the, audience, I'd like offline is discussing with Frank. What is Bridgewater doing to mitigate their ponds? Because I don't see any of this growth there.
It's too young.
So like, are you doing anything?
Not as a whole thing. There's some three things you get certain plants to do, but we haven't started that yet.
So I'll make one more point for us. So we moved in here in 2010, we bought the house. It was built in 2005, 6. There was absolutely no growth. So the growth takes about 10 years. However, that is mandated to be put in there by the developers, by the state. That's how we have it. If you go to every community, go to the ones that are across the street before Bridgewater, and they already had the growth coming up now. So that's how long it took. Now, according to Anna's research, section 1 was the only one that ever came up saying that Lennar actually planned.
If I remember correctly.
Yeah, so Lennar actually planted it, but they planted it based on what the state mandated and had to. And that's why we can't eradicate it. It's a state problem that certain ones have to be there. And I've been trying to educate this community about it ever since I got into CDD 6 years ago. There are new people, they don't want to hear it. Goldie, I probably wouldn't have bought that house if those weeds were up there when we started it. So I understand it. We're trying to mitigate that. And I thank you for being here. Anybody else want to talk about that, or do we move on? We already did the Hoover. You want to bring that up about the new status of getting another contract with them?
That's later on.
Yeah,
That's later on.
this is good.
District Council?
So we'll, obviously continue working with Ken and Brian on the irrigation projects and the meetings if necessary. Really, the only thing I would remind the board is your ethics training, if you haven't completed it already. It is due December 31st. I think we've touched on it before, but it's, 4 hours of lectures. We've identified some free options for you. If anybody needs that memo again with those links, just email me and I'll happy to be, I'm happy to distribute it again if nobody's completed it yet. But it is due, needs to be completed by December 31st.
What's the year cycle on that? Because I know I did it in the summer. Does that mean I did it
If
this
you
year?
did it this year, you're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Would it be possible to have that sent out?
Yeah, I can redistribute that.
I'd appreciate it. I don't.
Why don't you send it to everybody?
I can do that, and David, you're good, you don't have to do it this year, so you're on the hook,
So
unless you want to.
is there a way to report it this year? Because there was no way to report it.
No, it's just gonna be a checkbox on your Form 1 next year.
Right.
So,
Well, you get a printout when you do it. They give you a confirmation when you complete the training. They give you an email with that, so you finish it.
So
Yeah, you get a confirmation.
I
Depending on
didn't get a confirmation.
I think,
Yeah.
I think so.
there are some paid options that you may be able to do. The ones that we recommend are the free options, which are just watching a YouTube video, really, from, the Commission on Ethics, as well as from the, state attorney's office that they put out there. But again, I can distribute the memo. But I'm not, Ken, did you do
I did it.
did you?
I did it earlier, like in the summertime.
Gotcha. Did you do a paid version though? Cause I don't
No.
know if you get a
It
printout.
was a free version.
Gotcha.
So-
It maybe when you check your Form 1 for the Commission on Ethics, I just don't know where you would report it.
I those do it different times, because I remember doing the Form 1 and checking the box and doing it all the
Yeah,
time.
so-
And you're saying it's due by December 31st,
So
so.
your ethics training for this year, your Form 1 for this year
Yeah.
is completed next year. They run a year behind. So you'll report when you fill out your Form 1.
So when I got my Form 1, let's say in July or June,
Yes.
I did it for 26,
Did it for the previous
But-
year.
For the previous year,
for
correct?
the previous year.
Yeah.
But that's when I marked the box, that I've done the ethics training.
If you've done the ethics training in this calendar year, you're good.
Okay.
You mark the box in 26.
Your reporting system.
Yeah.
I think the ethics people actually sent a notice, to me, basically about the Form 1. So, I mean, I figured they went hand in hand, so that's what I did.
It's, yeah,
Okay.
if you completed the training this year, just check the box on your next year's Form 1 and you're set. Yes,
You sent that out, you're gonna send the freebie links for.
yes.
those,
We've
okay.
got some freebie links as well as some paid links that are, maybe a little less dry if you, but
Run in the car, listen to my,
that's our recommendation. So I'll get those sent out, to everybody, just so you have it.
So to answer your question, you have to do the ethics training at 25 and then you mark it off at 26 when you fill out the form.
So the ethics form, the Form 1 that you fill out next year will be encompassing this calendar year.
It's just a check.
It's just a checkbox, correct?
So I wasted my time last year doing it.
No, you have to do the training you have to do
I
every
thought
calendar.
it wasn't necessary for this year.
No, it's necessary for this year, so.
Moving on. Anna, I asked Anna to do a couple of special reports for us.
Yeah, so the first one is I spoke with Brian, I'm gonna put together, a scope of work and a list for the various components that were identified in the inspection report for storm drains that got some sand and sediment in them. So I'll work with him to get that completed. I went ahead and added to my agenda items, Ken, the irrigation pump system, and getting that separated, so I'll work with Juniper and Hubert, and if it's okay, I'll keep you in that,
That's fine.
coordinated with that.
Yep.
And then the item, that Mr. Holstein is talking about is specific to, sidewalks and their appearance and being, dirty, and how do we sort of tackle and stay in front of that? One of the points that I'd like to make, and it's not to be, adversarial, but the sidewalks are the CDDs. There are portions of the, grass adjacent to them that are ours. However, when for example, when a park sidewalk connects to a roadway sidewalk, the sidewalk is ours, the grass between the sidewalk and the curb is not, that's HIDUS. So if we are to try and fix and alleviate that drainage issue, we really should be coordinating with HIDUS that we can lower the sod or make a modification to how those two sidewalks come together so that it can continue to flow off into the street and the drainage structure. Portions of park sidewalks have, like I said, have got grassy areas on both sides. In certain circumstances, that is CDD grass. However, those same tracks are adjacent to homeowner lots. The homeowner lots are designed to drain down and across, the high area to the low area, which is to the sidewalk, but inherently, the reason the sidewalks are getting dirty is because they're draining off of homeowner lots onto the sidewalk. And so we're constantly, it's our job to maintain those and make sure they're clean and dirty, but the source of the issue is upstream of the CDD's ownership. And so that's always been, part of the challenge, and, it's that circular argument of chasing your tail and trying to get that taken care of. So I don't know, Bob, if you've got additional questions or comments you want me to make to that regard, or?
This has been going on as long as I've been on this board.
Yes.
And, they're The only way to resolve this. But the one thing we haven't had is we didn't have Hector. Okay, so now we have somebody who's willing to come out and do a few at a time. The problem is you can't come out the day somebody complains about it. The reason it happens is what Anna just explained. There is nothing the CPD can do about it. We don't own the land, like we right of it, the left of it, back of it. We only maintain the sidewalks, which we've been doing. It's unfortunate that the people who have a great issue with this aren't here to hear this, but hopefully they'll listen to it. Is that when the water comes on the sidewalk, it's supposed to come down, it's supposed to drain on the other side. The sidewalk, you could say, has lowered itself, but it really hasn't. The land has raised itself. So when it goes off, either when it rains or sprinklers go off, all that water comes down onto the sidewalk. The land that it comes down off used to be urban land. We used to try to deal with that and try to get that done. It's no longer, it is part of Hyden now. The second part of it, the script, that's also Hyden now. But we did a study years ago, that's why I asked you if we had that or not. It was crazy, when you have to regrade the whole land that is owned by that particular home. You have to regrade everything that goes onto the street in order to let it flow down to the street where it's supposed to. I think it's crazy to undertake that. I think we've been doing it the right way for years. We run into a problem when we don't have a maintenance guy to come out and do it. Right now, we do have a maintenance guy to come out and do it, and he's been pretty good. He's been with us for a while now. So the question to Brian is, how many homes do we need until that comes out and does it? Because it's ridiculous to do one home.
Well, so I would say let's continue on through the agenda because in your proposals for the pressure washing, there's one vendor in particular who is offering a different scope of service that we've ever seen before. And to the, Paul actually had commented on this. This program would give you essentially quarterly attention in order to ensure longevity of, like the sidewalks being clean, right? Like throughout the year, they should be close to white, according to this methodology. So I'll review the contents. I have extensive notes on this and we could go in depth during the.
Okay, so before we do that and decide on that though, if we have 3 lots, 4 lots, 5 lots, 1 lot, how often can we call after to him not say, I can't do 1, I can't do 2, but I was.
I'd say 3 to make it work as well.
What is that process?
The last proposal that we did with spot treatments and all the benches, we paid less than 4,500. So he did 4 areas of spot treatment, 40 benches and some other areas.
So if a resident calls you, send you an email, that says, when will my sidewalk be cleaned, we can give them a date?
Yes. As long as we review that it is an emergency and then you give this green light, yes. Yes.
Yeah, so the other thing I just want to point out, that there's a difference between a sidewalk being dirty and needing to be spot cleaned.
Yes.
And an area that has perpetual drainage issues for whatever the reason, whether it's the upstream, it's the house, whatever it is. And it will need to be fixed. So there'll be a coordination effort between ourselves and HIDA that will need to be, entered into to make sure that we can try and come up with the most cost-effective, beneficial, long-term solution to fix that issue. So, one of the solutions is something like, well, let's just raise the sidewalk. Can we do that? Absolutely, we can do that. The problem is then it creates, the dam gets reversed. Now the sidewalk becomes a levee and nothing can drain across it. And you've got, squishy soil and sod on both sides. Or we can go in, it's called thatching, where you actually remove the higher sod, to use your term from earlier, mature. So your landscaping, including your sod, has matured. When that sod was installed, it was, I'm gonna guess, between 3 and 4 inches below the top of the sidewalk, which is typical, construction technique. 1, so you don't trip and roll your ankle if you step off it. 2, it allows the sod time to grow up. And when you walk around actually in most areas, you can actually see the weed mat. So the root mat. So when you look at it, the sidewalk's here, and then there's actually like an inch almost of soil and then root, and then you see the sod because it's just, your community's been here since the early 2000s. And those are the things that happen. So does that mean that we need to remove all the sod and destroy it? Absolutely not. Are there areas that we can use that technique to remove a portion of the sod. You know, you cut it, remove it to the side, lower the dirt below it, put the sod back so it can kind of flow through it. Yes, we can do that. Does that work in every instance and circumstance? No, it's not a one, size fits all, but that is a good solution. It's cost effective. And then there are going to be other areas that might need, a different, approach that we can analyze and work in.
Have you ever done a study around the areas?
So when I go and do that inspection report every 2 years and walk around, that's usually a good time to see that. I tend to do it in the summertime, so it's raining or the sprinklers are on. And we have caught a lot of them and we've fixed a few of them. Or not, we fixed most of them. Are there more out there? Sure. There's always one particular sidewalk in a park that it will rain. It will then the sprinklers will run for 6 days and nobody knows why. And then you can't walk by the sidewalk because, your feet are going to get wet. And so there's at least one location that I know that's like that right now. That we need to look, and it was identified in the report as needing to be addressed. And we're getting into that now. It comes with a solution.
I did a survey, which probably was good enough, whatever, and I found maybe 10 to 13 spots that I go. And when I'm talking about cleaning, I don't need a dirty piece of broken bone that, offers a, dangerous situation.
Yeah, where water is stayed for, water can be on the sidewalk. That doesn't mean it's flooded. It should evaporate and, be gone after, a series of whether it's, hours or a day, depending on the summer heat. And if it's staying longer than that and it's ponding, meaning it's stacking up past that, the whole width of the 10-foot sidewalk, there's probably something that we need to take a look at there. Sometimes we've gone out there and we found that, guess what? There was actually a drainage structure next to it, but well, it got mowed over. It wasn't weeded like earlier on. Someone put mulch on it. Guess what? Someone tried to beautify it and they covered it up, not knowing what it was. And guess what doesn't work anymore? The drainage.
Yeah.
It doesn't have any way to get there. So sometimes we can cover, anomalies like that. That's not, generally the case, but that's happened at least twice.
Well, one thing, Bob, can I make a comment on this?
I was just gonna ask anybody.
I come from more of a proactive approach to something like this rather than reactive. We're reactive now to complaints from homeowners that are experiencing a lot of wet sidewalks, mold, mildew, and that stuff in front of their property. You may have taken a trip and seen 10 or 15, it might be more. We've done some small things. We have one over there, I think, on Balboa, where there was a lot of complaints and on it,
That was the front
a
yard,
couple
right?
of years ago, and all it took was just a little attention to get that. And we had one over there in phase 7, where we had the same problem. Chris came over and he put a little trench, we don't have a problem. But it is what it is. I would not recommend any construction facade and changing the concrete sidewalks. It's a maintenance requirement that we should take on proactively and come up with a solution where we have maintenance on this every year. Cleaning every year, followed up with visits from a company that schedule this. We don't have to have Hector coming out here and there and doing this and that. That's my view of how that should be handled. Yeah, it's gonna cost money. But do we want the problem to be mitigated to the best we can? I think we can if we have a company that can actually come out and do these spot checks with our umbrella contract. And I think you'll see today in the package, we may have one of those kind of companies.
Oh,
Well, that doesn't, that's good. I agree. Oh, yeah.
You mentioned a report on sediment. Funston. I know that there were complaints from residents and I went out there myself and the whole entire road is totally got water from one side to the other. I would go driving in with a low car that happened to me here on like a few years ago and had to replace the whole motor in my car for a low exhaust intake or something I didn't know about.
Yeah, go through it fast if you're gonna go through it.
Yeah.
Can't slow down.
So there's a night, I didn't know there was even water there until it went. Anyway, this has been going on since this community was built on Funston. Because I remember distinctly the pond over there was actually one pond that went straight, just from the parallel to the road. And Then they came up and added more space and made an L shape and said, this is to help alleviate the flooding on Funston. Well, it did nothing to alleviate the flooding on Funston. It's been happening since at least 2008.
So, that's still new.
But she mentioned the sediment. I was wondering if it checked it.
She does once a year, but anyhow, I'm gonna exercise what David told me. We're not gonna talk about that now, we're only gonna talk about stuff. Right, Jim.
Well, I was only gonna comment, years ago, there was a area in Phase 4 Park that flooded.
God bless you in that Phase 4 park.
What?
God bless you in
That's
that.
the only
Phase 4
place
park.
I ever see her walk. Sorry. But there was an area that flooded like that, all the way across the sidewalk.
Yes.
And it didn't clear after 2 or 3 days, and then we did go in, we voted on the board, put in a drain. The drain went to one of the, the additional drains, and it's done a job, and it has not flooded on that other side since. I also at the time said on my side of the sidewalk that goes to Halleck, there is still an area that floods every time it rains. But the argument against fixing it was it drained within a day. And as long as it drained within a day, it's fine.
Right, so there's a flood.
That was, however, 5 years ago. And now it's beginning to build and the sod has increased and it's beginning to get to that point where it's become like a dam.
And that's what we're gonna be working on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so that would be.
So those are the kind of things we're trying to pick up. We've been, this has been going on for a long time.
Yeah.
And in my mind, we did proactive about it. The only difference is we never wanted to invest all the different money because we were dealing with 3 different boards in order to get this done. So the easiest thing was if it was clean.
Right.
Okay, and when we didn't have somebody like Heckler's company to do it, it's when it proliferated where a lot more people complained. But when we were able to do it within a 2 or 3 week period, everybody understood. We also understood that 2 months later, we're gonna have to do that property again.
Maybe
So at a certain point, it may cost us money or less, disagree. But it's certainly gotten worse over the last 6 years, where there's a problem. A lot of that flooding is because Lenore was supposed to put French drains into certain bad areas, and they never did.
Right.
They were installed.
Yeah.
And
Well, they installed in some of them, but not in all.
They were installed in the phases that were required by the SOLOS report. So those were installed. Then what's happened is folks have tried to, I would say, apply some self-help. And the problem is they're not connected to the actual drainage system. So the slime that people see is really the mold that's coming out of a 6x6 plastic drain that everyone, that will get emailed and say, oh, it's broken, it's dangerous. Well, you put that in. Probably got run over with a mower. It's not supposed to be, it's not traffic rated for that. And what happens when it's not connected, it's got a top and it's connected at the bottom by a pipe. And so it just holds water. And in the summertime, it gets hot and it gets full of grass and the grass decomposes and breaks down and it turns into, like a slimy mold. And when it starts raining and it fills up again, it bubbles up and out. And then that's when you see that slime. When it's connected to the drainage system, that doesn't generally happen. The other thing I just want to point out, because it's just really to us. But if you're talking to other folks, the other part of the drainage system that, that folks tend to forget about or they don't think of when they're doing, and I know Juniper does primarily all the yard work, right? We've got some residents coming, they come and they cut their own palm frond and they're just, trying to help and whatever. But instead of putting it in their yard receptacle, they put it on the street because they don't want it in their driveway. They don't want it on their sidewalk. They don't want to throw it away for some reason. Although I have seen how small your trash cans are, so maybe that's why. And there have been many times when I've been called out because there's a drainage issue and I lay down on the road and I look and it is completely full of palm fronds and whatever else it is, and that's not helpful. It actually ends up damming and blocking, the flow of water. So is that going to completely stop it? No, but it's going to slow it down to the point where it does create an issue. And I'm happy to talk to you after the meeting about the specific component on Funston, but that was actually on the south side of Funston. That was one of the issues. Like I went in, I started reaching out, and I mean, the amount of palm fronds that I was able to just reach in because I didn't have a manhole hook to pull the top off and just pull them. I think I pulled like 5 branches out. And then the water just started to, sort of evacuate and go, but that is part of it, so, and that will affect your sidewalks, and it just affects because all of the drainage is connected. So it will affect the, the ponds, the streets, the sidewalks, and it will back up.
Too bad you didn't take a video.
So by what?
It's too bad you didn't take a video of taking that stuff out of the drain and watching
Well,
the water all of a sudden going
I'm
down.
pretty good, but I mean, I was laying on the side of the road, pulling everything out, I mean, I wasn't,
Call me next time, I'll come up with video.
yeah,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Anybody else have any comments on these sidewalk issue? So I'm gonna end this by telling everyone who's gonna listen to us, look at this, you need to call us up, let us know you have a problem in front of your house, and we will get it fixed for you. As far as the future, we will sit down and again, go through what the cost may be, or which are gonna have to stay where we are, because it's been like this since the grass has been trimmed. Anybody else have any comments? Next item.
Well, I'm just gonna make one comment, sorry. I think that's why this is going to be a good discussion when we talk pressure washing. About the more often we pressure wash the sidewalks and keep them clean, we're sort of trading that for solving this other problem. So maybe we need to remember that when we're discussing the cost and making that decision.
We can bring it up some, but as we've noticed through the years, you've done pressure washing, it starts raining again, that sidewalk gets that same dirt to split, that's gonna get it again. The only way to cure it is to get it out, have the flow. Like
Well, and exactly like Anna is saying, is when we get a lot of rain, a lot of that slime and stuff does come out of all of the French drains and side drains and everything else that's built all over.
I'm also suggesting to people who have to walk through it to walk around it, don't walk through it, walk down, where's somebody the other day? Okay. Storm drain review. District manager, okay, Brian, you're up.
So Bob and I have been working on the bridge restoration project. We scheduled a vendor to come out and meet with him. He did that inspection. Would you care to talk about anything that you did?
Yeah. Okay, I went out with a different vendor that Brian got a hold of. I thought the company was very good. I thought the presentation by the vendor was excellent. We did one of the bridges, spent about 2.5 hours inspecting it. He told me I don't need to spend the next 6 with him, he'll do it on his own. And he came up with different ways of doing the problems that we had. I did not realize there was, I'll call them railroad ties, the 4x4s, but they actually rotted in the middle, not on the outside. And he just would stick a rod down to show me how far down it was. And he said, these are probably good, some of them, we could do it 2 different ways, that's the only thing I'll bring up. Because we'll have to see everything he wrote up, I haven't seen it, he just called Brian today. We can cap it, and then we have to cap everyone, because everyone hasn't rotted the same amount. Nice aluminum type that he said fits in perfectly. Or we can replace the 4x4s as they're dead, which means some will look new, some will look old, it'll have a terrible view. However, the runways, which are all wood now, and all of that damage, the aggregate is caused by the golf carts more than anything else. So we're gonna have to find a way to not let the golf carts go on it. We're looking at doing a composite on the bottom, not all the way around at this point, because we don't have to replace everything pretty much. It's gonna give us a way to save some money. Doing the top composite means we gotta do underneath too. So that's where the money issue comes in. However, if we're gonna do the composites, we absolutely have to find a way. He made a great suggestion. Put some balance on both ends and just don't allow them to go on there. And if they're gonna come in here, we're gonna have the same issue we had with the signs. This time we're missing 2 million. It was supposed to cost $100,000 to redo it. And basically, it's not done by age because that particular bridge on one is not even 6 years old. Because we could put wood on there. So that's where we are. We're probably gonna be in the neighborhood of what, 125,000?
Currently, and I am gonna work with Anna on this, we were just reviewing the proposal. She'll make some suggestions for the need for the PEC. You're at 177. With the current proposal for all 5 bridges, you budgeted 175.
So, and then let me ask you a question. With the vendor that you had, now we know what we want to do. Would he be able to give us a price without having to inspect it on his own and charge us for it?
I can certainly, I'm happy to ask him.
I'd love to ask him what it is, but, I thought this guy would find it very reasonable because
I died.
Move it to the left. There. You
I think mine died. I'll just talk super loud. Okay. Oh, just turn back on.
There we go.
It's green again.
because I need to get some more bids on it.
Sure, I'm happy.
And so once we get the paperwork for him, we take his name off there and say, what would you charge us to do this work?
And I asked two more vendors as
And
well.
let me ask you a question, Bob. Do we have any bridge now, if a golf cart went over it, would it be a possibility that the bridge would give way?
The answer to that, he told me was no.
Okay,
Okay, a board may break, it might stick in there, maybe the tire, okay, but no.
so we're not in extremis, right?
No, because the wood on the side, the four do not have to be replaced, pretty much, none of the plans.
Oh, okay, that's good.
To be replaced. The bridge.
It's structurally sound, and I just scanned it, it's structurally sound. It's normal for wood that's been exposed to water, brackish water, salt water, to have a component of rot within it. We know that, that's why they're the size they are, so they can do that. They can have treatments, they can cap it, there's other things you can do to prolong the life of it, so you don't have to replace it in its totality and entirety. But my understanding is structurally, they're fine, it's your surface boards that you're actually, your decking is what is, it's, the sun beats on it. And you've got golf courts that go across it and the tires, and it just, it puts them
Yeah,
down.
that's the first question, yes, let me know if there's any bridges you got to shut down. And he said, no. I rode the golf cart across there to take the chances that I kind of going out. I mean, on one, you got wood sticking up.
That's that question.
Right now, ask you if he's willing, once we get this, we get another bid and then we'll take one more.
And we'll continue the progression, we'll send some more
Or
vendors.
we get in three, or, two that are reliable.
Yep.
And, that's generally how I did this house. Here I got it from the person who did it all, and then gave that to the other vendor and said, oh, you gave us to the price. Without prices or anything else, because I would trust with this guy.
So identify the scope, and now Anna also has some good things to start referencing and making her adjustments to making this.
If you put down 20 period, how long would it take to do all that?
We just got the proposal today coming into the meeting, so, by your next meeting, we'll probably be considering 3 bids to move forward on this, which will be good in the winter season.
Do we have enough money set aside, or we gotta wait another year to break it out?
No, you do, you carried over a lump sum, but you did budget, I believe, the 175, if I'm not mistaken.
Remember, it was 175, and I think I put a 15 or 20% number on it, just because, it gets more expensive. It's never more affordable than it is today.
This guy definitely is willing to go.
Yeah, but let's check it out.
So I'm sure we'll save some money on that number.
I'm pulling up our budget, which brings us into the financial discussion.
No, it's already in the 26 rate.
Bob, was your question, how quickly can he redo all the bridges? Not,
How long would it take?
To do that?
Do we want to do it continuously, or schedule 2 for this year, 2 for next year? Or how we want to break it out based on how bad they are?
then we
Worst
should
to
definitely
the
look at
best.
it.
Yeah, and he'll make that recommendation. I'll work with Anna for her recommendations on areas of importance. So you budgeted 57,000 that we will be budgeting this reoccurring amount annually for 3 years to account for the 57 times 3 with a flood that.
It's small, we'll probably get it down to that price.
But carried over from your surplus 113, so you actually have the full lump sum to utilize this year.
I don't foresee it all being done in 1 year. So, again, see if you put down the worst of the best, and then how we started it off, and we'll go from there. We'll take a look at it, we'll get a couple more bids, and then we'll decide how much we want to spend.
Okay, look out for those updates.
Just out of curiosity, because I'm trying to get a sense of timing on this. It seems to me like it was about 10 years ago that the bridges were redone the last time,
It was less than that.
2015 or 2016.
Yeah.
It was less than that.
Yeah, well, I was just wondering, because trying to get a sense of how long they last.
Oh, you know what?
It's why I almost think it would be interesting to start replacing the two bridges every 2 years or something.
Well,
So that we would almost set up an automatic cycle.
so once we get it, I'll be able to know that answer a little bit
Yeah.
better. There's 3 forms of deposit. I didn't know that.
So
There are 3 forms of deposit. Commercial deposit, residential. Some are guaranteed 5 years, some are guaranteed for 10 years, some are guaranteed for 20. So that'll have to be something we decide, and that'll be based on the pricing. I mean, I'm not gonna be here in 25 years, and probably vote against that one, but, so that'll be part of the price. But definitely we have to go with deposit, can't go with wood anymore, and the price is pretty equal these days. For a while there, deposit was cheaper, because wood was standard.
Well, I mean, I remember when they decided not to go with composite, but to use wood.
Yeah,
And now we're kind of paying the price in a way.
I lost that vote, you too, I might need this one.
I would go with you.
Anybody else? Thank you.
And then do you want to do the financial reviews for how we close that? Okay. So Ken and I have been working on this throughout the year, updating board. You were closing out the year in compliance. We are not over budget by any means, and you are carrying over a surplus in addition to the surplus that you already had. So for your general fund, you finished the year $105,001 under budget for the general fund. And then for your reserves, you're finishing the year at under budget for 81,190. We coded all the lines accurately, worked with the accounting financial associates, especially over the finalization of this irrigation repair and the irrigation overhaul. Ken had made a great suggestion to include, because we had such a healthy surplus, include the irrigation overhaul project in the previous fiscal year. That way it opens up what we can do in this next fiscal year. So Ken is now going to work on phase 1 to be able to streamline it directly from phase 3, and gives us that wiggle room. And this, we reviewed your budget in totality from the surplus that you accumulated not only this year, but as a whole, you're sitting roughly a little over 1.1 million as a surplus that we'll continue to start utilizing for these big infrastructure improvements.
So what happens is, you know, when you close out the fiscal year, that's your net operating results for the year. So like you said, in our case, we closed with $104,600 to the good on the O&M. Likewise, in the reserves, we had a surplus of 81,190. So if you add those, then you come up with your accumulated operating results, which is on your balance sheet. Which means that we have 682,459 in O&M reserve, basically, and then the reserves we have with the 81,000, it's 533,303, which Brian said is about 1.2 million. So that's how that works. So when the year closes out, these reserves go into those pots.
Yeah, you know, I've always had a argument with myself. There should never be a year that we don't raise maintenance fees because they're raised to us. Cost of living should be the minimum. We just had a project for $32,000 that we didn't know was going to happen.
Well, we're ready for
money to sign for.
Right.
We need to, you know, convince everyone over the next year, and there is absolutely no figure now. That's the way we've got to go, because this is a good trip community, and everybody knows that at this point, because of what's going on. And so we're fine for now, but when we do it next year, please, everybody just consider that. That's on this board. Thank you.
Yeah, we, just to lightly touch on that, I have another district that they have been in, depleted of funds over 3 years. And when these big $33,000 projects come in, they're, you know, forlowing on their payments to vendors to keep up with the new fiscal year assessments. So to Bob's point, it is very important that you have a healthy surplus, especially as an aging community. These things will happen. These storm drains will need to be vacuumed out. We didn't think about it And if you don't have this, it puts you in a really tough position. So
Thank you, Brian.
credit to the board. That's all I have for financials.
Consideration of the minutes. Anybody have any problems with what they read?
Yes, so there were, several revisions that I did make. I'll just go through them really quickly for the record to approve in substantial form. So Dave Francis was formally, sworn into the board. He is now part of the, consulting forum. We made that adjustment in the final version. We also updated Ken's, supervisor to vice chair. On first order of business, there was the revision. It said Mr. Mendez called the meeting to order. It was, Chairman Bob called the meeting to order. There was a revision in third order of business, just some grammar, on line 2 for instead of current projects currently ongoing, current projects that are ongoing. There was a revision to the district engineer, section. It was stated Mr. McGee presented, obviously Ms. Saunders. Under fifth order of business, yet again, it's stated Ms. LeBrecq nominated Mr. Goldstein for chairman. It was Mr. Goldstein that nominated for chairman. Bear with me so I can read all of this into the record. Ninth order of business, there was a grammatical revision to reviewed. Reviewed was capitalized. And then 16th order of business, stated that, Ms. Saunders had made supporting comments on the board communication. It was Mr. McGee. And, on the last page as well, Mr. McGee. So made all of those in the final copy, which your chairman will be signing off on. The agenda on the website does not reflect that. It will reflect the revised minutes as stated with the corrections.
So mine is one of those revisions.
Yours does not. This one does.
I'll make a motion that we accept the minutes as restated.
Brian, my last name is misspelled in those, it's a small pen, but.
Yeah, absolutely.
MAGE, not MCG.
So we'll make out the checks the wrong way.
I get it literally every day, so I'm used to
I have an issue with the B.
it. Yeah.
We will also revise in the final form, Mr. McGee's correct last name.
Any other input?
Had a motion from Joe. Sorry, any other input?
None? Go ahead, Joe. Make a motion.
I made the motion to accept the minutes as restated.
You have a second? Second. Yes.
Second.
Sorry, John. Sorry, looking the other way.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries in substantial form as stated.
Ratification and operation. Any questions on that by the board? Yes, no?
Jay, it was just the 1 month that we're voting on, right? Okay.
Correct, August. One thing to just update the board. So if you recall, you had asked, hey, these quarterly website audits, they're costing us roughly X amount. Is there an opportunity for us to remove this and save roughly a couple $100 a year? So our VP went back to school now and asked if we could, revise this, if there would be any cost savings. The simplest way to explain this, the quarterly website audit is baked into the agreement. So there's not necessarily an additional cost. It's just a breakdown that's already within your agreement. And by removing this, it wouldn't give you any cost savings. So you weren't the only board that asked this. There were 3 boards. We relayed this information. Beneficial to council's point to have it on a quarterly basis, and it doesn't look like there would be any cost savings.
So if we negotiate next year to get rid of it before we sign it.
That's what I was thinking.
Yes, that's.
Modify the agreement.
That's
Follow that.
any.
Any motions? To accept it.
I'll make a motion to accept it.
John, any seconds?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, ratification of, under business items, irrigation repairs on Balboa. Irrigation irrigation mainline repairs, include all the ones, irrigation repairs in phase 4, irrigation repairs in South Legacy.
You know, they're all minor, but they obviously gotta get done.
And the insurance policy coverage, did we put that through?
Yes, we did.
Now, one thing that, Brian did do, we're going after some money associated with the controller that got zapped by lightning.
Right.
Which we paid 10 grand for that controller. So I think the deductible was what?
2,500.
25.
So he's in the process now, working with them.
Yeah, we should
to
get-
get us a refund on part of the money.
Is that the first time we put through something like that?
Yeah, since I've been here, we've never filed an irrigation plan.
No, wait a minute, now, I think there was when Anthony,
Insurance claim.
we had a lightning strike on a light, a FPL light, about 5 or 6 years ago, and it knocked out about 15 decoders. And we put a claim in for that, and I think we got reimbursed
During my time.
during your time,
Yeah,
but this was when Anthony was here.
And that's a while ago now.
Yep.
Anybody want to give me a motion for ratification of district items?
Items 1 through 5.
I'll make a motion to approve the ratification of the district items.
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Items 1 through 5 are ratified.
Okay, B is review and consideration of CBD annual goals.
Yes. So this is actually a printout that I gave to everybody. It's attached to that little, yes, you got it there, Bob. We had discussed this in our last meeting. This is just our annual goals, for our new requirement. What is this, a new legislation that passed?
It's been about you're.
Yeah, so that, it is legislation. Right?
It is, yeah,
Okay,
it came out of the legislative cycle. Not this previous full year.
right. So closing out fiscal year 24-25, the board adopted operational goals and financial goals. We did achieve those goals, and working with council, we provided this report so that at the end of this year, we can send this over. Is this the supervisor of elections that we're sending?
It goes to the state, I don't know off the top of my head.
And that's what we're working on. But the point being, this is the tasks that we achieve throughout the year. There are other options. My recommendation, knowing our community, I would state the board to consider rolling over these items. This is just a compliance matter. We're fulfilling all the requirements of the goals that you can. This is just more of a formality.
Is it the first year we've been required to make this?
Correct, correct.
Looking at it, my first thought would be that we could probably be a little more definitive on some of our accomplishments. I think we'd look better if we just, everything looked kind of very general, like you could. What's general?
General's pretty good.
General's pretty good. I was just thinking if you had really good projects that you completed, listing them, I think would make you look good, but.
Yeah, there's no, this legislation is really squishy. There's no requirements of these goals and there's no punishments, or
Okay.
for not meeting them. So
We'll just pat ourselves on the back in our newsletters.
we really, our advice on these goals has been keep them general to what you're already required to do so that even though there are no, demerits at this time for not meeting the goal, we don't want to put the district in a position where we potentially are too specific on it. And then at the end of the year, for some reason or another, don't meet the goal. So it's really, we want to have a clean report card for whatever the state is doing with these. We're not.
I wasn't actually considering putting down specifics of a goal. It was more a report at the end.
Yeah,
of what-
right, but where.
So
the
there's
report-
no possibility that you wouldn't meet it because it was general in nature. So but we can pat ourselves on the back of the newsletter.
No, it's what's getting submitted to the state is did you meet the goals that you set out at the beginning of the year? So
Okay.
we can do our pass the back on the newsletters. I think that's
Thank you.
a little more specific than the state is looking for at this point.
So Brian and I are glad you were back today. Actually, I think it's a good idea to pat ourselves back every once in a while. As Joe brought up, and not be generic about it. Will we get enough complaints about specific things when we accomplish it? for anybody, just seeking need help accomplish action three. For, whether you want us to do it or not, I think you got good reasons not to do it. But I think patting ourselves on the back every once in a while, the complaints that we get in here, might be for that.
Are you saying that you would like to add specific improvement items
Now, I'd
to?
like to have Joe come up with that, because she's better at, you know, that, tell us what we've accomplished, what we've done right, and let's put a letter out. Let's put it out to this next meeting and see if they want to do it.
Like we've been doing actually.
Yeah.
That's everything. Yeah. So I'll work with Joe.
That's a good venue to, you know, pat yourself on the back, because the homeowners are gonna see it,
Yes,
right?
and that's what matters.
Yeah,
This other thing, this is just a checkbox thing.
It is.
yeah, I wouldn't say that CDD shouldn't be patting itself on the back for all the accomplishments that, you know, the board is getting through. It's just for this document,
You know,
I think there are better.
you know, the problem is when we pat ourselves on the back, once we get kicked in the butt, and it's.
So in light of that, be open to suggestions. You know, there's administrative goals that you can, adopt instead of one of these, but knowing our community, this is our two main focuses, operational and financial. Be open for, the board's recommendation if you would like to roll over or change.
Anybody? David? Been quiet a little bit.
Cooperation with the district item. It's, we've done good, but we can do better.
Read.
Which this year we're working on bridging that gap to ensure that all the projects that we do moving forward, including the pressure washing, the landscape overhauls, these irrigation overhauls, even bidding out the agreement for Juniper. So I think now there is a effort on both parties to ensure that we're moving in synchronicity. And I think we've been doing very well so far. I don't see any hiccups on the road. Communication between managements is very good. Ken has been a huge testament to the success of this communication as well. So I think we continue on this venture and, you know.
And because the result is you save money when you do that. And when Haida took over her, we saved enough money that our assessments, and we've looked at just the 6 months, and it's accurate, our assessments are down, under damage for all homeowners. What has that ever got?
Well, it happened for 6 years on our board, we did reason.
So, but that's the kinds of cooperation that we had. That was a forced cooperation.
See, I thought you had a great idea, and I was kind of looking at it a little bit different than you did. I remember when we went to school, we had the interfraternity conferences and things like that. The high board, our board, since we're only down to two, we have some things that are interactive, but we handle it like on a committee that Ken does, rather than in an executive area, like having our executives speak with their executives, sit down, what are we gonna call? What are we gonna get done? Great thing was, you know, getting the lawns done, getting the electricity done. Sidewalks were another issue. What do you guys think we ought to do? What do we, you know, that way there's no conflict when we have our different meetings. And we're all on the same page.
Yes.
Let's bring back history. Actually, I almost hate to recognize this person, but Mr. Hertz brought that up many, many years ago about having a joint meeting
Yeah.
with the board presidents. And
I think that was the problem, Mr. Hurst.
And you can hear me say that on the recording, that's fine. He knows how I feel.
But anyhow, I think that's a great idea. Would you be open for a motion? Well, not a motion, but, perhaps, the leaders of both boards meeting over items that overlap each other, so we're on the same page?
Yeah, it's above as well as the management companies, you know, with Leland and.
Yeah, I just thought, he's gonna say no, because you're a board member and I'm a board member.
Oh, dear.
So unless you put
It
somebody in
would
your place.
be, yeah, it would be, you know, if you want to designate some individuals, but you can't be discussing
Yeah.
members of this board. Cannot be discussing.
I wasn't thinking about that when I said it.
Can they do it at an open meeting?
If the HIDA board came to this meeting that was publicly noticed, Yes.
And they can discuss whatever they like.
Then we're in a CDD meeting, we're publicly noticed, so that may
I
be.
was trying to keep it with the leaders and then go back to their boards again.
But there's always the transparency issue with people, you'll probably have two people show up.
We can do a
At
workshop.
least you can be comfortable
Yeah.
talking about whatever you want to talk about.
A workshop with only leaders to get away with it.
Yeah, a publicly noticed workshop would be fine. You wouldn't be able to make any decisions during that workshop, but you could certainly, speak, converse, hash things out. But again, you wouldn't be able to make a decision.
So the workshop would be open to the residents though.
Yes,
So there's plenty of options, to do this coordinated effort.
I think they like hearing the fact that you're all coordinating with each other, so I think it's a good idea.
I really think you could almost look at it as more that it's a philosophical position that we on this board recognize all the things that we do affect all the residents. And both boards have exactly the same group of residents to represent. So therefore, there's no benefit in either the boards being separate from each other. We're always better when the boards work together and communicate. And I think that would be really what we want, is that we always strive to communicate.
Well, I think Brian does that with their management company, that aspect should be done through the managers. I was referring to things that we would, both boards are gonna have to vote on, both boards are gonna have to put money out, that we're in the same ballpark when we do that. Like today with Kenny, phase 3, we needed 2 boards to vote on that. We didn't know if we were gonna have an agreement or not. So we gave Kenny $50,000 to work with, all he needed was 27. We didn't know what the other board needed, we didn't know when they were gonna take their vote. But if we're able to kind of agree ahead of time, it might work faster, because we're in agreement.
Well,
I
that
agree
process
with you. I
worked
understand.
very smoothly. Because remember, we have one community, but we have a board, HOA, and a CDD. For this place to excel, we have to have total teamwork between the HIDA board and the CDD, because it affects all the homeowners in here.
Yep.
That's how I look at it.
Correct.
Well,
Okay?
we should know that ahead of time, before we have it. So we don't have to, that's kind of a little tricky.
Well, there's gotta be a way to work that out, to have some kind of a symposium or workshop.
Workshop sounds good.
I think a workshop would probably be the best bet as far as, keeping everybody in line with the subject line. You could have whatever sort of discussion you want to. Obviously, there's no decision to be made, but it is publicly noticed, so you could have those open discussions.
So if I wanted to pursue something like that as the chairman, I could go to somebody on higher, but that person can't be David because he's on this board.
Right. But we would have to, a workshop needs to be publicly
Well,
noticed.
before we get to a workshop, you think it's the same way.
Yeah.
You reach out to me, say, hey,
management- the
Brian, I
managers
want to
would
do
coordinate
something
the
in
meeting.
collaboration with the HOA, and then we would get in touch with the Leland team, and then on our behalf, we would run the workshop advertising. And you could do this for your.
That would be the second step. First step would be to agree on doing this. If you don't agree on doing this, I won't be in the workshop and have an argument back and forth.
Oh, yeah, would you like me to follow up?
No, I would, I just asked the question. I know I can't do it with David, so I'm gonna try to do it with the vice president. He can do it together. Say, hey, we've got these things coming up together. How do we want to do it? You see that as a problem, David, or?
I would say there may be an issue, there's likely going to be an issue if you're using an intermediary to,
Communicate.
relay to
Get it
data.
done.
Yeah,
Well, it's not, you're right.
so,
We can't relay it, you'll have to have permission for David to be able to make that, decision. That's all.
It just seems like the two management companies need to talk to each other.
Yeah.
That's why they're gonna have a workshop and then notify these guys,
yeah,
That's it.
I think that's.
and notify
That's the way to do
the
it.
residents, yeah.
The problem with having this workshop is when we disagree, when we don't disagree, it's fine. No one disagree from the community, it's just sit down.
It's just discussion and everyone knows it's just discussion.
Yeah, that's the point of the work. We'll do it for big projects, right? So if we have another phase 1 irrigation project, then we say, hey, HIDA, we want to meet with you before we start soliciting bid on this day.
we're gonna have to work jointly with irrigation overhaul, like we did very well. We need to continue to work with each other on landscape management, which we did to coordinate it where we end up with the same one. When we have communications, use the height of the district's communication channels to communicate all the CDD business which we have done better at. We could still do better. If we have projects that sidewalks that's coming up that the CDD is going to continue today, well, Heidi should use the same timing. And if they use the same time, then cost savings probably the same benefit.
They actually have for the last 3 times we did, you guys got to do the acreage at that time. And did we let you know when we're doing ours? That's an easy one. One that's hard is one is we have to do the sidewalk. That's the only thing.
And when there's repairs that have to be made, like with mud or whatever with the sidewalks that's coming over, if it's district property, it should be automatic. That it's, there's an agreement with the CDD and district that district has no problem with whatever needs to be done to fix it. So, and I'm sure there's some other things, but it is so important to be on the same page, because as John and everybody else said, we're the same shareholders essentially.
Yeah, we cover the same people, same residents.
So we'll continue on this conservative efforts. To the annual goals, what are we thinking? Operation and financial will cover everything that we've discussed thus far. And this by no means limits us on overachieving goals. We'll do many goals.
Are you needing a motion? Because
I would need a motion.
I will make a motion to accept the goals as you put them out and with our understanding of why they are what they are. I don't think they need any further additions because I don't think it does us any real good.
Generic is fine.
So I accept.
Have a motion from John.
I'll second.
Second from Joe. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, board. Back to you, Governor.
Consideration of the amendment to the irrigation maintenance agreement.
Okay, this one here, when HIDA assumed the burden of responsibilities and liabilities, this initial irrigation agreement, which was issued in 2022, had to be revised. So what you're looking at here is an administrative action to acknowledge that HIDA is the remaining HOA.
I make the motion to accept the amendment to the irrigation maintenance agreement.
Right, HIDA's already approved it. So we're looking for the CED to approve this today.
George made a motion in the seconds.
Second.
John, David, everybody in favor?
Aye.
Harry? Pressure wash.
Should we take a 5-minute break by chance?
No, we'll be done in 5 minutes if we don't. Well, you can go.
All right, very good. So let's get into some pressure washing. So reviewing your first proposal, you have rolling suds, power washing. So our typical standard services, just cleaning, they were priced very well at $41,687. The last time you did this, you paid roughly $59,000. So extremely good bid there for cost savings. And they did list a 4-week turnaround depending on weather conditions. Very standard. Okay, any questions on that?
When we schedule this, November, December?
So to Dave's point, we are working with HIDA right now. So all the vendors that we've gotten proposals from, we have put HIDA in contact with the vendors. They are soliciting their bids. It is my understanding that HIDA has a meeting scheduled for 3rd week of November. Is that correct? Yes. And then they will be making a decision. So the idea is whomever we select today, to David's point, will most likely be who HIDA leans towards for the aprons to do it in conjunction.
Okay.
And then December, to answer your question, we'll probably look at a December start date for this project. Questions? Keep going? Okay. All right, so the most unique offer that I was actually really surprised with was this X Pro pressure washing. So, you know, this is an interesting offer. We have realized, and I'm open to board discussion on this, we used to do pressure washing on the sidewalks every 2 years. We're seeing the repercussions of that. So I think in discussing with a couple of the experts, as well as some of the board members, it would be beneficial to include this into an annual maintenance. To everybody's point, our community is growing older, it's growing more mature, and therefore it requires maybe some additional maintenance. So if we do this annually instead of biannually, there's a good chance sidewalks won't get to the state that they have gotten. So food for thought on that aspect alone. This year's budget, you already have budgeted for the annual pressure washing 85,000. So typically on next year's budget, you would reduce that cost to 35,000. But the proposal is essentially to now keep a steady 60,000 in that as a maintenance item that will be done annually. Food for thought there. Thoughts, suggestions, opposition?
How about the curves?
What was that?
Included in the sidewalk with that, right?
No, we would have to include the curbs.
But they're included in the monies we set aside.
So the curbs were included in the previous fiscal year that just closed out. So to your point,
Yeah, but wait a minute, that was only the Legacy Boulevard.
correct,
Right,
Wasn't the whole.
and that was done by Hector,
correct.
but not
Not the whole.
the residential curbs.
Not the interior of the phases, correct. And with the 85 that you have in your current budget, if you were to entertain a agreement with any of these companies for a 3-year fixed period, you could keep the 55 that would be your annual maintenance, and then you have an additional 35 annually that accounts for what we accrued for of the legacy curbs. And now you could start to do phase by phase like we've been doing everything else, you know, bridges, sidewalk repairs, all that. Any thoughts on that? Is the board in agreement with maybe moving into an annual maintenance instead of biannual?
And this is a treatment, not pressure washing.
Well, right now, we're just talking about annual maintenance need, and then we'll go into, do we want to keep traditional or do we want to try a new method?
Well, I'd like to make a comment that
Please?
we were doing it every 2 years. But 2 years ago, when the people that were doing it, they tried to get it done and they couldn't. You remember they had to stop, wait about 4 or 5 months.
It's in the middle of summer and the rainy season.
We learned from that mistake.
Right.
We can't do that.
And so that ended up taking that 2 years and making it almost 3. And I think all of us would agree that it's been the last 7 or 8 months where the sidewalks have gone down incredibly fast.
Yes.
From being relatively good, probably last spring, they went by now, they're all very bad. You can see it everywhere. So the question I'm asking is whether 2 years is still sufficient to do it if we had stayed to that schedule. We didn't stay to the schedule and we lost almost a year, and that last year is a mess. Now, does anybody else agree with that, or?
Well, I think there is some merit to looking at doing an annual maintenance sidewalk cleaning.
I agree.
And I think with this company here, I did a little research on, right?
Yep, Exo Pro.
So, like Joe said earlier, this is not a power washing solution. What it is, they use a thing called Citrus Shield cleaning systems. It offers a patent pending no rinse cleaner and stain remover that is both safe and effective for eliminating stains caused by mold, mildew, algae, and other organic growths. It's designed to work harmoniously with the environment. Citrus Shield is biodegradable, non-corrosive, and free from harsh chemicals, ensuring the integrity of the surfaces that it treats. This revolutionary product will make your job easier, faster, and more profitable by eliminating the need for rinsing. CitraShield is a patent pending no rinse solution that saves time, reduces labor, and delivers powerful eco-friendly results with zero scrubbing or rinsing required.
But that same company then is turning around and doing every year.
Yes.
They redo it all. So effectively, they've done the same thing by going to every year. You know, do we gain anything by whatever their extra cost is? Or just by having, the sidewalks done every year consistently with some additional side cleaning on certain spots that are going to be bad, and we've kind of talked about them, like.
I think the solution said that it also prohibits the regrowth
Correct.
of this mold. So that would be different than just power washing it and waiting a year and power washing. This is supposed to help inhibit that mold growth, correct?
Prevents organic growth such as algae, mold, and mildew. And you get 4 cleanings in the first year, which is very good. And then as you go through the cycle there, year 1 to year 2, you start to see, their new schedule. But it is my understanding that they would be out here quarterly.
Right.
Would love to have seen a sample of them taking one of those bad spots we had and maybe, a month ago, putting something on it to see what it did.
I think the vendor, he either was in the process or started, he wanted to do a target area to give us a reference.
Right.
But the point being, I'll be honest with you, and I'd be open to honest take on this. I mean, she's probably great with the expertise. I think this is the first time I've ever seen anything like this, and on paper, it sounds fantastic.
Well, but it's not gonna take care of the slime that Anna talks about that comes on the side, because it only is going to treat the surface of the sidewalk, but the slime and stuff is still going to come out.
Well, you're gonna have more ongoing services.
By doing that, it's like going to pressure washing every year. But if their pressure washing bill, if we go to pressure washing every year, you might get a lower price, for doing it.
You're saying traditional method versus the
I don't know. I haven't checked out the references on this stuff as to whether it really does anything. And we have to go with whatever you can get in references on it and others that have used.
They did have a reference section too.
I saw a couple of them. Yeah, I read them.
Okay.
Yeah, let me scan it.
So as she's scanning through, they did have on the back page here, it says proven experience of, what they have done, some key advantages to the program. Worth noting, proactive maintenance prevents organic growth rather than reacting after buildup. To Ken's point, we're trying to be proactive. Safety and accessibility, no surface closures required. Sidewalk remains safe for residents during cleaning. Environmental responsibility, so this is an environmentally friendly product. Cost stability, you have the zero escalation for X amount of years. So that's a good thing to note, right? Labor is going up with inflation. So to your point, you might see an increase in traditional pressure washing versus this, you get into a fixed year agreement, and then they have some additional detail work.
John made a very good point. I think we got pressured into cleaning it.
Yeah.
Every year. 2 years was fine for 10 years. I think the problem was that we had these specific areas that were slimy, and we made the decision to go ahead and clean the whole community instead of, we didn't have that area at the time.
Sure.
We had nobody to do these particular areas. We couldn't get anyone to come in and do 1 or 2 areas. But that lasted for 10 years, that we were able to alternate 1 year the sidewalks, 1 year the curbs.
Correct. Now, the only feedback that I have is this chemical is supposed to keep it cleaner for longer. So, and we all said this on record, you could clean it today, 3 weeks later it's dirty. Well, supposedly this method now starts to go away from that. They're gonna stay cleaner longer, and over the longevity of this chemical, it's supposed to restore and kind of stabilize your sidewalks. Does that make sense?
Well, it's not corrosive.
It's not restoring.
No.
It's not-
No, it's not restoring, but it's not corrosive.
Yeah,
So I
Strike
would
it.
say I'm very
in truth.
cautiously optimistic. I think a site visit, like a YouTube video, I mean, whatever, but if there's somewhere in Florida, it looks like they've got a couple locations, I think it would be interesting to go and see those and see how it's performed. I'm always a little more hesitant. You want to say something?
No, I was just gonna say, I'm in Korea, that is one of our districts.
Yeah.
So, like, I can reach out to
And see how that works.
see, whoever in our office runs that.
That'd be great.
And see if they have any.
Yeah, that would. be
Yeah,
great.
and if nothing else, maybe before you sign up for like the whole gamut, maybe you do legacy. Because we know we don't have a ton of drainage issues along Legacy in those areas, but that is a high profile, it looks really nice, and it's got a ton of oak tree shade cover, you can sort of see how it works before you maybe apply it
It doesn't,
across the
it
board.
doesn't give you the look after a good power washing.
Correct.
Right,
It is a progressive
Take
type
your
of cleaning
sure,
system here. The first couple of days, it may look a little bit whiter.
Right.
After like a week, it's gonna look even more whiter. So in my mind, I'm having a hard time understanding how that would work with the environment. In other words, with the rain, is it gonna wash it away?
It is not.
it does, I mean, that's not what it says, it says like,
Right.
no contact, there's an initial application, they come back 30 days later and do it again. Then there's another spot checking, and then you're on a maintenance program for years 2, 3, and 4, where they come back and do another application.
Do we have the time to get them to maybe do this spot area or something so that we can see a demonstration of it? Or are we under?
I don't know, I would presume that we would want to like go to a site or rely on,
Yeah, I'd agree with Anna, because we need to talk to somebody that's had it over time that can make a judgment. If we did a spot area, we don't have enough time, because we need to.
Yeah, because
We need to really authorize.
you won't have an instant result, right? Like it's a progressive, it kind of, a slow burn. And so it takes a little bit of time. So someone who's just done it isn't going to be able to tell you either. You need someone who's done it.
But he's
3 years ago.
going to be asking that community, I'd really like to know if they had the issues that we have, a real black area of slime that, like people
Yeah.
that are slippery. That's great.
What I'll figure out who in our office represents Ava Maria, and I'll have them.
Just need to see it.
District manager reach out to.
Yeah,
Brian, and they should be able to.
Very good.
Is that okay with you?
Do you know how old the community is?
I do not, I don't believe it's as mature as you guys, but it,
Ave Maria,
yeah, I think it's been around for,
10 to 15
yeah,
years.
it's been around for a while.
I'm just hoping they have slime.
Yeah. But Brian, are you okay?
I would say as a side note,
yeah.
We need to go back to people we recognize, it might be easier than everyone talking at the same time. So go ahead, Jim.
when I lived in Baytree, and that was a CDD too, it still is. We used to get our, tile roofs treated, where a guy would come around and he did all of the tile roofs and sprayed them one time with some material that did this for the tile roofs, that it over time retarded the algae and kept the mildew and algae off the roofs. And I will say surprisingly, it seemed to be very effective, that the roofs in that community look very good for being, I don't know, they're 20 years old now or longer, and yet they pretty well all do it. Each individual homeowner had treatment done. And then it lasted 2 or 3 years. So I would hope this would be the same type of thing and the same effect, that you get a long-term effect at reducing and keeping it from growing.
They did come out on site.
Yeah, so
That sounds like it's a field one way or another. That's going to keep the dirt off and everybody else, but sidewalks, people walk on all the time. On the roof, it's great, because it's.
well, I agree, but
There's like a Joe Max is a brand, right? Like, and it's a algicide of sorts, right? That you can wash the side of your house in, your roof on, and that sort of thing. So it absorbs into the clay tile.
Right.
And then eventually, and it does, it's like a retardant that doesn't allow it to.
Like snow in your driveway.
Right, well, and you're on a roof, right, so it's gonna shut off a little easier, but I'm sure they're using some sort of component, science-based back to that, if that would work. I'm intrigued by it, the fact that they came out on site and provided proposals, so they've gone around, they've seen all the oak trees, it sounds like they've looked at all of those things, I would just be curious, and want to talk to somebody who's, in year 3 of the cycle. So it had time to, be activated and work and, make sure it's what you guys are looking for.
It's something to consider, I'll go back to Johnston. 2 years is fine, 10 years. We just got pushed into it because of a few people who were complaining about something. And I'm not convinced that we have to go to Europe, to be honest with you. I think if we take care of the bad areas, intermittent basis, the rest of them really don't look that bad. And like Kenny said, the look, when you pressure wash it, is really, really nice. And that does last for a while.
I'll say the
And also, a lot of the homes, when they do their own pressure washing, end up doing their sidewalks too. So that makes sense. So before we invest all that money, let's just take a harder look at it. So, I mean, we just did it last year anyhow, but the problem was we did it in the rainy season.
Well, so let's get into the financial, right? So you had a really good bid from Rolling Suds for roughly 41. Continuing on the proposals, you have HP Home Solutions that did you, everybody knows Hector. Did the Legacy Boulevard, did the benches, looked phenomenal. He also uses a really good product. He's priced in at 56. And then Jacobs Pressure Washing, I didn't have much to comment, but 125,000 just for traditional, not about the mix.
One paragraph.
Yeah, that's,
She didn't want the job.
I guess.
that's right.
And he said he wasn't available.
And so taking into consideration, Ken and I were working with Sunburst on a proposal for this sealant that he applied on your sidewalk that worked really well.
Well, it was a test area.
It was a test
And
area.
it's still bright.
Is that the white?
That was the white.
Yeah,
That was $200,000.
yeah,
To give you an idea, to your point, if this is in fact some sort of sealant, going over the numbers, if you see, like 56, I guess would be your standard middle line. 40, 41, I think is a really good deal. So if this is our standard and these individuals were willing to basically meet the standard on an annual requirement, the only reason I'm leaning more towards this new method, and obviously we have to try and true, is that this is going to be proactive versus reactive, because I don't know if the best situation from a management standpoint is just to wait for residents to report potentially, hey, I just slipped, can somebody come out and treat this? Versus we're already ahead of the curve, we already have this on an annual maintenance, and this is being treated quarterly. Now we don't have to rely on the issue of like, report this and potentially, hey, I fell, and litigation costs, potentially. This is all the scenarios that I'm running in my head. Please, Joe.
Go ahead, Joe.
The last time the sign works were done, did you know how much we paid?
Roughly 59,000.
59, because I was very unsatisfied with the job that they did. So even if they came every year, I would not have been happy. I mean, I know they did a summer, I came back and you could see exactly where the wheels on the washer had gone. And to this day, you can still see it, where the wheels were on those, at the washing. It just wasn't uniform. It didn't look
Well, and
good.
it can be challenging. And so, and that is one of the things to talk about. The machines are so high pressure, that's how they get the dirt out and they're scrubbing. And so if you let that machine sit for too long in one spot, you get the circular drains. I mean, you have to be long. And then here's the other thing. Your sod isn't just 20 years old, so are your sidewalks and your concrete. So you get to take a little care with it in your, power wash, for sure.
That was a bit.
Yeah, I'm optimistic, like she said, cautiously optimistic about using this solution. I set up blocks in my back in the middle of the night and they get black with the mold. And so I go up with my Clorox tile cleaner and spray them, and they're good for months and months. And I think that's because I'm putting something on it that's gonna help prohibit the algae from growing.
Well, concrete is porous. It's a porous substance. So if you apply something to it, it absorbs it. And so I'm sure that's part of it.
Especially if you do it just as it was pressure washed, that porous concrete is the most able to accept that citrus to come in and magically change it and fill that porous.
Well, you know,
So that is the time to do it and add this, or to spray it like that. So if it would work. And if
here's
it
the
would,
thing, okay?
yeah,
We're taking a lot of heat from the homeowners.
Yes, we
The
are.
CED is getting bad publicity and well-deserved that we're not maintaining these sidewalks.
Right.
That's the issue here. We can't leave here today without a decision from this board on how we're gonna handle this problem,
That's correct.
yeah,
okay? I mean, plain and simple.
so I do agree with you.
So we need to come up with either a high technology solution, EcoPro, or we go with what we're used to get this under control. And also, time is not on our side here. I mean, we are getting in now to the window to do the power washing. We can't wait 2 or 3 months to the next meeting.
Yeah, I'm not sure we have time.
So I don't know if we have the time, if we're going to go into conjunction with the HIDA for the acres.
I think the community really would love to see us take a proactive maintenance approach to one of the biggest complaints in this community is ponds or sidewalks. That's what we hear about. And so to know that what we've done in the past has not worked well, to do something entirely different, I think they would be impressed with that well-spent money.
Brian, is that contract, it's the initial upfront, and then are you locked into the $55,000 for years 2, 3, and 4? Is that part of the?
Nothing's locked in. I'm gonna have Kyle draft his own agreement to this on what the board wants. I think the only thing to look at is, to your point, if they're able to go into a 55,000 fixed rate, that keeps us
But
level.
that's your bars,
Yeah.
right? Like, so that would be pressure washing every year. So the upfront payment is the additional application. right?
Correct. Correct.
I just wanted to point that out, make sure that was clear, and that I was understanding that correctly.
And are they fixed at that quarterly, or what would happen if we had a, call it a Hector event in between, where somebody did grow because of the drainage? Is that going to be an additional cost, and if so, how much, or are you just gonna stick with some, I mean, you wouldn't want somebody like Hector coming in and power washing off the solution they just put on there.
Sure.
So we need to know what their, would do for spot cleaning.
So, and that's something that we could work into the agreement as well. I, take into account, you budgeted 85,000. The largest price you're looking at, it was that 75. I'm not considering the 120 some. And the owner of the company I spoke to is open to quarterly services and call as needed. If you looked at their proposal, Rolling Studs said they'll do it in 4 weeks. These individuals said they're gonna do it in 2 weeks. So it looks like this method is also simpler to service.
All it is applying.
Correct.
They're not gonna use a machine to do the power wash.
Not pressure, but they do have machinery to basically, yeah, the same machinery that we push on the sidewalks, it's my understanding, something of that sort.
Well, number one, we gotta wait to hear from Kyle and find out if they've done anything in the other communities or whether they like it or not.
And I'm
Okay,
gonna,
so I think we need to draw back a little bit on that to get much more information. As far as getting it cleaned down, we probably need to get it cleaned down because of what Kenny just said.
Sure.
Get it over with. John's right, that cleaning that we had was terrible, but it also was 3 years, not 2 years. It was also done at the wrong time. The hurricane season ends on November 1st, but the rainy season really goes through most of November anyhow. So we couldn't really start until December or January.
which we have to wait for HIDA's meeting in the third week of November.
I think they're, I don't remember what the aprons were, but it was really inexpensive compared to.
Well, the aprons are a different animal, because they're not gonna have dirt on the aprons because they drain right into the Miami Current.
They're always much cleaner.
They're always much cleaner.
So
So
I don't remember the price last time, but they added it on to when we were doing it. And I honestly think going back to the every 2 years, if we really get it done the right way, we don't have to spend that kind of money. We really didn't have complaints till the end of the time. Well, terrible last year, and that's our own fault. We should have fired the guy immediately. But he wasn't doing the job.
Yeah, they had some difficulties. I think it's important to also inquire, I mean, David, obviously you're on both boards. What are your thoughts on this? Because you're gonna be presenting these companies to your board. So in spirit of keeping synchronicity and conjunction,
I can't speak for the other directors, but they're gonna lean toward picking whoever we pick today if we make a decision.
Okay, that helps.
You know, the interesting point is that those aprons are only a year old and most of them look clean the way we said they would. So might be a cheaper price. Before we go on to something new, and I understand it always sounds great. We go back to the original method and see if it'll last us a year and a half or 2 years. Because it does, based on what we're reading, look much cleaner that way. And keep up with the spots that are big. We kind of let it. If we can keep up with that. You know, the one letter you got right, the guy said, I went out for a walk, and blah, 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 I never took signs, this house is perfectly clean. He saw it about a mile down the road. Okay, so I understand. It was terrible on your wall, but that probably should have been clean. Okay, how many people have called you up because of their lawns?
Over the last month and a half, Bob, I'm gonna tell you, we probably received over 15.
Okay, so if we took care of all of that on a basic pay, and it didn't all come in at the same time, we'd have 3, 4, 5 of them per hectare.
Well, that's the argument, right? Because now you're doing on-spot cleaning and you figure, 3,800, let's say we do that 2 or 4 times a year. So call it $4,000 just to round it up, 4 times 4, 16. So 16,000 in addition to the 41, that puts you almost at the 60. So I guess that's the argument. Are you looking at the immediate lower cost or the long-term more fixed rate? There's so many arguments for both.
I would think if you had 15 right to you, there's 15 that didn't write to you.
At least.
Remember, that's all a huge period of time. We haven't done anything in 6 months.
I just want to point something out, and I love an innovative idea, right? Here's my, again, only concern. So it says key advantages of the program, proven experience. Over round numbers, $450,000 in comparable large-scale contracts completed within the last 2 years. Your contract is, let's just say for the first phase, that's $75,000. That's like 4 projects over 2 years. So you don't know, I don't know that you have anything long-term to look at just yet. Would be maybe my initial consideration of like, how many times has this really been applied and done? And is there a track record that you can actually go and visit and see if it's gonna work, if it's for 2 years? And that's probably just a point of clarification we can ask them. But I just want to throw that out there. That was part of their kind of advantage section, and I just want to make sure you guys saw that.
Yeah.
Maybe my only issue with this is it's a new way of doing the process
Yeah, great.
from what we've been used to doing in here. That big question mark in my brain. How is this actually gonna work? Maybe they could come over here and say that they're one of the finalists and we wanna see, maybe take a week and apply this in some of the bad areas and see what the result is. So we can understand how this is gonna actually unfold,
I like that.
okay?
Let's say it cleans up.
Park or something.
We don't know what it's gonna look like in 6 months.
We don't, but
That's
my problem is, I don't know, without power washing the thing, what's the result? I mean, I know he's
That's
saying.
the question I want to ask. This company that's going to apply this magical, citral whatever,
Citrus.
you're saying they don't power wash?
No, they
They're
are
not.
not.
Why do they just spray this stuff on?
Yes.
The chemical doesn't
But
work.
they don't actually go and power wash? Then I'd have to say that's an awful lot of money for what may not be.
Well, so it's an oxidation process. So think of it as like
Yeah.
OxyClean. You're spraying it on, it's gonna bubble up and break down whatever's down there. You're gonna apply it a few times. So on lightly dirtied areas, it's gonna effervesce and bubble probably, is my guess, right? Or just break it down and dissolve it and it'll be gone.
But I
On
would
dirty
say,
areas, it's gonna take additional treatment, that's all.
I agree with you, but I would say an argument with you, there is a huge amount of just, in addition to the algae and everything else and the mold, there's a huge amount of dirt that has now worked into the concrete and the sidewalks are genuinely dirty
With dirt.
with dirt and without power washing. And having watched the other companies power wash, you can literally see the dirt wash off. And it's not just algae and mold. So my problem is if you only spray this stuff on, I really don't know that it's gonna actually clean it.
I think there's something in
There's a description, but I'm not a proponent either way. I
Yeah.
would love for this to work. I just don't know anything about it from a
Yeah.
background.
And that's the smart answer.
I don't have a, I don't have.
I can't figure out how that's gonna actually work.
Well, and for the money, and they can do it in only 2 weeks. Well,
Yeah.
2 weeks is not enough time to do a thorough cleaning of this entire.
833,000 linear feet.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Into the whole 4-year thing, or is it, can you?
No, we could do whatever.
So you do just the 1 year,
Mhm.
and then if we're satisfied with it, would they still honor that?
We would have to go back.
I think we're looking for instant gratification here, number one, because everybody's complaining. I think we ought to go back to the proven method for doing it twice a year.
Sure.
Contract, I would not sign a 3-year contract unless we have a 60-day of getting out of it. I would go back to the cleaning that we know works and do it at the right time of the year. It'll take care of the 50 you're talking about anyhow. So we don't need Hector for the first year anyhow. And we'll see how long it takes. We'll have those names and we'll see how long it takes for them to get dirty again. Because if they get dirty within a month or two, we got a real problem.
Sure.
We're gonna have to attack the lots and do it the way Anderson to fix the lots actually. But right now, I think we need to go with that 42,000 or whoever's giving us another bid of doing pressure washing. Last year's guy's not on here.
What is that, rolling
No,
stone?
yeah, Rolling Studs. We reached out to Blown Away. They were very late to get back to us. They actually reached out last week, but they haven't submitted any proposals.
Okay, you know, the problem with blowaways, they did it the wrong time of the year. It's not that they're a bad company.
They
did
did
it
it summer.
They had guys passing out here trying to do it. Wait,
They did.
You know, we actually asked them to stop and come back.
We did,
They
and
forced it. Right.
to their defense, it was just unforeseen circumstances. I think you had a transition in management at the time and everybody was just trying to push this as quick as possible. They were just trying to be good, vendors and adhere to what the board wanted, and they got into a load of trouble.
Have you investigated Rolling Studs?
I mean, past just requesting a proposal and looking at their business, credentials, I did not, but I'm gonna forward it on, I think she has.
And I apologize that what I was looking at was the Rolling Suds. They are the vendor that was out from Korea, so.
They're what?
Rolling Suds is the.
And now we have nobody, and we know they applied to.
Right, yeah.
Well, you know what? You can get us an answer on Rolling Studs.
Yeah, I can do that.
I like that.
I think for the next time, I'm gonna go along with John, because I know it's almost 3 years instead of 2. Been on the board so long that we really didn't have as many complaints as you're talking about with 50 homes. But I'd like to clean the whole community and then take an active look at when we start getting complaints. Because it may be a bigger issue than we think, and that issue is, re-landscaping.
Sure. It's been about a year and a half that I've seen trickling comments,
Right.
but over the last month and a half is when it's gotten.
Well, everybody's come out of the work now, because everybody read it on Facebook.
Yeah.
But that's when that'll happen. It could be one spot in front of the house. I got it too. That's why I call it Facebook, but it doesn't really matter when I think about it.
I think, risk, it comes down to risk. This new technology, there's a lot of question marks about it. So, I mean, well, I think that's an issue, spending that kind of money and may not get the results that we want.
Well,
that's the fact, that.
That's not the one who did it. They actually did it with the other.
Yeah, the Rolling from
Oh,
Suds.
So we have no vendor.
But we need a solution today, to
Yeah,
get the place cleaned up.
I would make a motion to go in Rolling Studs, but I wanted to know what kind of company or what kind of reviews we've had or anything. But we can give them a contract based on,
It's a good price.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, it's too good of a price.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
But that doesn't mean they can't do it, because the one before the 57,000 was $47,000. That we did 2 years ago, 3 years ago, whatever it was, before, this guy